Lights out and away we go. Oh my goodness! Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of the UK Sim Racing Community's GT3-GTP Multiclass League Season 1, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today, we take a look back at all the racing action from round 3 of 10 at the legendary circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have taken a trip back in time to what was last Sunday for the round which saw our drivers take to the circuit, which many would rightly regard as one of the best circuits in Europe, if not the entire world, and spanning at 4.35 miles or 7 kilometres. This is a circuit that has seen itself shrunk down over the years from its original layout, which saw its first race occur as what was 1922, if my memory serves me correctly. But the key thing about this circuit is that whilst it may no longer be a rapid trip through the local Ardennes forest, and now a much more formal trip by comparison, it is a circuit that has a little bit of everything, whether it be the high-speed opening sector or the high-speed concluding sector, albeit the difference of sweepers in the first sector and hairpins in the in the final sector, we should say, or in the middle sector, the second sector, the longest sector in them all, being very tight, twisty and absolutely rampant with a whole variety of corners. Well, whatever you fancy with regards to a racing circuit, it's here in Belgium, and what a place to go racing. But coming back to our point from earlier, this is a post-round broadcast. We're bringing you all the racing action which had occurred as of what was Sunday, the 1st of October 2023, as if it were live this fine Friday the 6th of October. And as our drivers get ready to go racing, this will be as close as possible to the raw live experience you guys and girls tuning at home on the official UK Sim Racing Twitch channel. Indeed, if you're on twitch.tv/UK Sim Racing, welcome to you all, as we can catch all the live action for this season. And what it means in terms of post-round broadcast is that I, as your host and commentator, do not know what happens over the course of the practice session, which is currently ongoing, the qualifying session that's upcoming, alternatively in the race itself, and I managed to avoid as many spoilers as possible, and we'll bring it to you spoiler-free as best we possibly can. And of course, if you're on the chat right now and you happen to know the results of the race, alternatively what happens in qualifying, whether you're one of the drivers on the grid, alternatively you're just a friend or a family member, we do ask that you avoid any spoilers, please. But as we get ready to go racing today, wonderful conditions here in Spa. It couldn't be better for GTP GT3 Multiclass Racing. And without further ado, let's just take you through that schedule with all your commentary and broadcast action, of course, being brought to you by myself, and my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. But coming on to our schedule for this season then, and as we can see, we started off only a few weeks ago, back on the 17th of September, with round 1 of 10 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the United States of America. There we opened up with a bang, and well, in particular in the GTP Pro class, we got to see a 5-way fight for the win, and what a battle it was. But it wasn't just about in the GTP Pro class, but also in the GTP AM class, we got to see some brilliant battles, and in the GT3 class as well. Who could forget about them, with the battles at the front of the field in the GT3 classes, and particularly perhaps the surprise of them all, with Matt Edmondson pulling off a surprise piece of strategy in order to creep through to take the GT3 AM win. And then in round number 2, which we brought to you earlier this week, back on Monday we brought it to you, but all the racing action was on Sunday the 24th of September, we got to see at the Fuji International Speedway the story continue in Japan, across the Pacific Ocean, our drivers racking up the air miles, but there we got to see the miles racked up at the Japanese circuit, and well, we have seen 2 different winners in each and every class in 2 races, and well, no repeat winners so far, and therefore could we see our first repeat winner today, or will we and find ourselves once again having new names at the top of the standings. But the real stories of Fuji were, firstly, in the GTP Pro class, it was Austin William Campbell who had an absolutely measured drive to take victory at Fuji in the GTP Pro. In the GTP Am, it was back-to-back second place finishes of Billy Bob Ray, albeit missing out on the win, but still happy with his performance there and moving into the championship lead. And conversely, we got to see David Rolliston have a good performance, and also Sam Sherwood, perhaps the name, the star of them all at the GTP Am class, absolutely dominating, did Sherwood in what was the ProTech Motorsport machine. And will he continue that trend today? That will be the big question confronting him. Meanwhile, in the GT3 classes, in the Pro class, it was a superb drive to victory for Heroldus Dutatus, who's moved in to the championship lead ahead of Adrian Kukulis. And meanwhile, in the GTP Am class, Lawrence Marsh may have just missed out on the win versus Satinder Dinsa in an absolutely ferocious battle between the two of them, lasting 20 minutes in the final stint. But Lawrence Marsh now is your championship leader by 2 points over Matt Edwardson. But as they get ready to go once again today, well, let's take you through what is the rest of that calendar, and the fact that you can see what is a break week upcoming after today, and then we return for 4 rounds back-to-back, starting on the 15th of October with the Watkins Glen International Circuit in the United States of America. Indeed, we make a visit to the state of New York for the mecca of road racing in the US of A. In round number 5, we then make our way over to France for the Circuit des 24 Hours du Mans, and we couldn't have a multi-class league without visiting the Le Mans Circuit on the 22nd of October. You'll get to see why it's the ultimate multi-class racing circuit in the world. And in round number 6, our only other post-round broadcast for this season, due to scheduling circumstances, will be at the Sebring International Raceway in the US of A, and we're making our way to the state of Florida on the 29th of October. And then round number 7, we make our way to Italy for the Autodromo Nacional Monza, and on the 5th of November, we'll get to see our drivers there pick up some of the high speeds on the long straights of the Italian circuit. And then we'll have our second mid-season break before returning for round number 8 of the Red Bull Ring in Austria on the 19th of November, and then it will be the 26th of November we make our way to Daytona's International Speedway with the final visit to the US of A. 4 visits to the US this season, and that will be in the state of Florida as well. Then we bring it all to a close back in good old Blighty, as they say in the British slang. It'll be in the United Kingdom at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 3rd of December, bringing everything to a close at the home of British motor racing. As we come onto our circuit for today, then we are here today near the town of Francorchamps in the municipality of Stavelot in the region of Wallonia in Belgium, and we're going to be seeing on try to take to the Grand Prix pit lane version of the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps. But as you can see from the circuit map provided to you by iRacing.com, thank you to them for their wonderful simulator, which has recently picked up the NASCAR license, which will be used to develop further NASCAR content on both PC and console. Great news for iRacing, and thank you to them for their wonderful simulator and the circuit maps that come with it as well. We can see that this circuit, well, it's a household circuit, and the fact many of you, when you say Spa-Francorchamps, you'll immediately be thinking of household corner names such as Eau Rouge, Radion, also Rivage, and also the bus stop chicane. But as the drivers roar their way around this 19-corner circuit, they'll find they've got plenty to deal with here, and the multi-class racing definitely will come thick and fast as the laps accrue, as they make their way across the start-finish straight and down towards turn number 1 at the source corner. They'll make their way onto the brakes of the opening hairpin, and that's what we could see, some brilliant battles. But then it's also the runner out of turn number 1 and all the way up the hill through turns 2, 3, and onto the 4. Now we're through Eau Rouge and Radion, and the fast corner sequence there with the major uphill gradient. Indeed, a good number of our drivers on this grid have been there in person and walked up that hill, and they've reported back just how much of a gradient it is. But made the way out there full throttle. They go onto the Kemmel Straight, the run all the way out towards turn number 5, and there we go from the first sector into the second sector. Now carrying through the combination of Lake Column to turn 5 and 6, the chicane there, the fast right-left. They'll make their way through the right-hand at turn number 7 and wind their way down towards Rivage at turn number 8. A downhill hairpin where it's all about dealing with the fact the corner is heavily off-cambered, and therefore you've got to be very patient on the throttle. But if you play the patience right, you'll carry the speed out and onto No Name, now known as Jackie X corner at turn number 9, or charging your way on the short run down towards Poulon at turns 10 and 11. The double left apex there, perhaps one of the most difficult corners on the circuit to get right, but get it absolutely right and nail both apexes, and what you'll find is you'll carry all the speed on through and down towards the Fangio chicane at turns 12 and 13, the medium speed chicane. And swinging from right into left there, it's all about quick fire direction change and straight lining the apexes as you then make your way in towards Stavelot 1 at turn number 14. The double right complex at turns 14 and 15, sometimes referred to as Stavelot or Stavelot 1, Stavelot 2, or here we can see turn 15 labelled as the curve to Poulf area. And as they make the way out to turn 15, it's going to be a charge all the way at full throttle up towards Blanchimont corner at turn number 17, and there it's about being as close as possible to flat out, and we expect our GTPs to be completely flat out all times, and I suspect the GT3s will be as well, as close as possible possible to that as they make their way through the fast left-hander and down towards the bus stop chicane, 2 of the slightest corners on the circuit, the final 2 quarters there, and that's also plenty of battles under braking before they come to the end of the lap, only to do it all over again. But now coming on to our rules, of course we can't go racing without rules. As you can see, car setup wise, drivers are permitted to change their car before round number 4 with 25% points deduction penalty, albeit I haven't heard of any car changes today, and car fuel load shall be restricted to 100% for the GTP class and 70% for the GT3 class. Now qualifying wise, an open qualifying format shall be used, lasting 30 minutes and split into 2 equal halves. In the first half we'll have the GTPs out on the circuit for 15 minutes and then they'll come into the pits, and in the second half it's the GT3s. Now drivers may not reset to the pit lane during the qualifying session unless they are already in the pit lane, and if they do reset outside of the pit lane, they shall no longer be permitted to take part in qualifying. Indeed, a few drivers fall in foul of that rule in rounds 1 and 2, and hopefully not too many will fall foul of it in round number 3. And then coming on to the race itself, the race shall commence via a double rolling start, which is the tradition of the UK Sim Racing GT3 leagues in the past, and it's becoming the tradition of the Multiclass League already, and this will be within a designated start zone, and I do believe that start zone, unless I'm very much mistaken, will be coming out of turn number 1 and on the run up towards turns 2 and 3. So we will be seeing a delay to the start when our drivers go green flag racing, but that is because we are using the traditional start line for endurance racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. We're not using the Formula 1 start line, we are going racing on the exit of the Grand Prix pits. Now on top of that, there are no mandatory pit stop requirements. How we are expecting at least 1 pit stop for all of our drivers today across the classes due to fuel concerns, and each driver shall have 1 fast repair available, and all race journeys shall be conducted post-race, and if they do accrue enough penalties, 23 or more, our drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything between. You're here for the racing, ladies and gentlemen, and as our drivers get ready to go racing today, let's take you through the times in British summertime. That's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1, UTC +1, and as we can see, in just over 3 minutes time, our drivers will be making their way to the field for the qualifying session, 30 minutes in duration at 8 o'clock this evening, and after which we'll go to the grid and immediately make our way into our 3rd race of the season. It'll be the 60-minute feature race due to kick off at 8:30. But indeed, it's a relatively cool circuit right now. Track temperature 26 degrees centigrade and ambient temperature 21 degrees centigrade, so quite pleasant conditions for our drivers, and that's going to work to the advantage of them in qualifying. They'll be able to push very hard as they make their way on around right now. We do look at our drivers out there on circuit. Indeed, we've got quite a few drivers right now out on the tarmac, including Joshua G. Wilson, the Swede, for Effect Simulations. He had to pick up his first win in the GTP Pro class, but he's been vying for wins all season thus far, and as he makes his way in there, bringing up the Cadillac, and indeed it's going to be the battle of the Cadillacs versus the Acuras once again, albeit we do have a couple of BMWs in the GTP Pro class as well, in the form of Davies and Hitchin, as Wilson there, doing some theatrics across the start-finish line, and we do have a little bit of latency on the replay there, and hopefully those latency issues will go away, and I can assure you, he didn't bring the replay we're looking back at to a stop there by doing that trick across the line, but definitely 10 out of 10 for style points. But meanwhile, we then do look to Alexander Mikkelsen and the Racing Navi Esports Moser driving. We'll see many of the Racing Navi Esports drivers on the grid today. The Norwegians, of course, competing in parallel in the official national series, and therefore they've got plenty to juggle between. But we're going to see plenty of their numbers on the grid today. Makes his way on around. We also do welcome some newcomers to the grid, including from Italy, Salvatore Guariento, and you're going to be seeing him in the 210 for Murio.io for this season, and welcome to him. And I do believe he has a couple of other teammates who'll be joining later on in the season, and we welcome them all to the grid. And well, how will he get on his debut? That'll be the big question, of course. When you're new on the grid, you've always got that air of the unknown about you, in the fact that if you haven't raced the UK Sim Racing Series before, which I don't believe Salvatore has, then we will be seeing everybody keeping eyes on, thinking, okay, what's he going to be like to battle? Will he be aggressive? Will he be a calm and considerate battler, or somewhere in between? But either way, we look forward to seeing how he gets on. And he's bringing the Porsche 963 to the GTP grid. That's absolutely fantastic to see. We've only seen one other driver on the Porsche 963 this season thus far, and that was in the season opener in the form of Paul Joseph Bliss from Olympus Esports. But good luck to Guariento. And we also do have a couple of other newcomers on the grid. You'll see in the GTP AM class also Darryl Norquette from Racing Forces, as Guariento there gets a bit wrong coming out of X corner. And in the GT3 AM class, well, it won't be Mark Johnson who's new. We've seen Mark Johnson already this season, albeit that's not to besmirch him, but you will also have the debut of BJ Alvarez for this season. Indeed, he's returning after season 11 of the GT3 League, and we look forward to seeing how he gets on for his team Sim Racing Chicago, and he'll be on the grid in a Porsche 992 GT3. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get ready to go into qualifying. And as always, to avoid any potential spoilers, we are going to step away for about 30 seconds, move into the qualifying session. We'll be right back for qualifying starting with the GTPs. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss it. Alrighty folks, well without further ado, it is time for qualifying, and as all the drivers begin to make the way out of the Grand Prix pit lane, it's GTPs first as they roll their way up onto the second start-finish straight and charging away on around right now with Joshua Wilson, the first driver out the pit and eager to get a move on. And you can understand why here, this is one of our longest laps on the calendar, albeit Le Mans takes the prize of being the longest of them all, and therefore all the drivers right now will be absolutely eager to get themselves out there and get those laps underway. But as they all negotiate the way around at the moment, we look to Ryan Davies a little bit further back here, a bit late out the pit lane by comparison. He makes his way on through. Well, right now, Ryan Davies, the BMW M V8 hybrid driver, as we continue to have some slight connectivity problems here with the replay file. Hopefully, again, we do apologise for the fact these are occurring, and hopefully they don't become commonplace when we go racing in particular. But we do say hello to a good number of you in the Twitch chat, including Billy Bob at 55 there. Good evening to you, Billy Bob. Also to Begler and Viva La Belgique, I believe that's meant to say, and well, that is Viva la Belgium, effectively, although my French, I must admit, is not too great. You can definitely tell that I did not study French at school. Indeed, I studied German and Latin, but then we also say hello there to Medmo, or Matt Edwards, who says that he hopes Joshua Wilson has a better race this time. Indeed, it was a challenging one for Joshua Wilson with those technical issues off the line at Fuji, where the throttle pedal stayed down even when it wasn't meant to, and well, a major incident there. But in terms of the steward's verdict after the race, we can tell you that after much deliberation between the stewards, Wilson was not significantly penalised for it, as it was one of those instances whereby he had no control of what happened. The technology failed, albeit you can understand a lot of drivers around him were perhaps disgruntled with the fact their races were impacted and nearly practically ruined before they got underway with green flag. But it was one of those things whereby with Wilson not in the habit of doing anything of that sort and whatnot, it was completely out of his hands, and therefore it's one of those things that's had to be chalked up to. It's happened, we've got to move on, and indeed it was a situation we've never seen before in the UK sim racing leagues as hosted on iRacing, and will definitely a tough one for the stewards to negotiate. But I get the feeling, personally, I think they did the right thing there in terms of just looking at the incident and understanding it in context. As our drivers make the way onto their first flying laps, we do look to Aaron Beaver, who's still yet to go onto his first flying lap, making his way on through in the Cadillac here as he charges his way for the left-hander Blanchimont. And what does it take to do a good qualifying lap here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps? Well, really, it takes confidence from you as the driver. As we do see Beaver making his way on through the final two corners there, and will having a little bit of latency of his own in terms of issues on the grid, but hopefully those issues will be resolved. Indeed it does look as though it's going to be a difficult one for many. So as we see a spin at the back there, and I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken trying to discern who that was, I believe that may have been the car of what was, unless I'm very much mistaken, Rob Armstrong going for a spin there. The UK Sim Racing Acura getting it wrong and now brings it together, so he's definitely going to have some very hot tyres. He brings himself up to speed, but thankfully he's able to go onto a lap immediately, and that's the advantage of the fact that having the spin just before the start finish line and able to use a little bit of the runoff area there to really reset the car and build the speed back up. As he makes his way out to turn number 2 and on the rise, we do have a GT3 that's crept its way out into circuit, and I believe that may be the GT3 of what is BJ Alvarez. I think they may have mistakenly left the pit lane, and I think they're going to be told they need to come back into the pits as soon as possible. Albeit now they're out there, they will need to do the full lap, as otherwise they will be disqualified from the rest of qualifying due to the rule that's in place with regards to the fact you cannot return to the pits by towing off a circuit. You have to come into the pit lane before you jump to your pit box. But as we do see Armstrong making his way on around, confidence is key around here. And what does that mean in terms of the setup of the car? Well, you can choose to run a limited amount of rearing and run at minimum downforce in order to maximise your speed on the straights. But the problem is here, you've only really got 1 or 2 long straights to account for. That's the Kemmel Straight and also the run to Blanchimont. So you want a bit of rear wing on the car, particularly for the middle sector. So you'll normally see this is a medium downforce circuit. There's a right way about going about it, and it is being in the middle ground of downforce. And those who decide to take a little bit of rear rear wing off compared to the medium downforce setup. They'll find they've got a bit more speed on the straights, but they may be slightly compromised on those direction changes, such as in the Fanders chicane here and also early on from Lake On. But as the first lap times start to come on in, well, right now it's Ryan Davies who sets the initial time and the bar high of what is a 58.496, and he puts that 800 faster than Alex Hill, with Alexander Trina McCalson at P3 there behind the GTP Pro Class. Between Hill and Billy Bob Ray, well, not Billy Bob Ray, between Hill and Trina McCalson is Billy Bob Ray, as we get ourselves ahead of one step there in terms of mention that he is the GTP and provisional pole sitter currently on a 58.659. So this circuit definitely giving times to both of the classes immediately, and well, you can understand why Ray will be going for gold immediately in this qualifying session, because he won't want this man to show everybody up like Fuji. And well, his name is Sam Sherwood, as he's on an outlap right now, so Sherwood getting himself built up here, and we're going to be riding on board with Sam Sherwood when he goes on for his first flying lap of this qualifying session. In the fact the Cadillac driver really wasn't a class of his own in qualifying at Fuji, he was half a second faster than anybody else, really delivering what we've come to experience in the real world of Formula 1 these days, with Max Verstappen qualifying pole laps being in the region of sometimes up to half a second, if not almost a second faster than the majority, if not all of the field. And Will Sherwood definitely channeling his inner Dutchman here, albeit he's a British driver, as he makes his way on down the hill, but he charges his way through Billon Corner. Well, we already a third through this qualifying session, and that's the point now, as we can say, with regards to those qualifying times for the GTPs doing the lap here in just under 2 minutes on the fastest laps. And that's why this qualifying session does feel a very short one, in the fact you only really have 7 to 6 laps available to you, as Joshua Wilson brings the time at the very top of the stands down to a 57.823, but Busby immediately goes faster by 8 tenths to a 57.0. My goodness, the effect simulation driver there really putting the bar high. It's an effect simulations 1-2 at the front of the field, and well, as we continue to watch Sherwood here on his warm-up procedure, we get ready very shortly to jump on board with him, and can he spring some surprises here early on the GTP AM class? Everyone will be wondering whether he's going to be able to do so straight out of the box. Well, let's find out, ladies and gentlemen, as we jump on board here with Sherwood for a flying lap of the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. As he makes his way out of the final corner, brings the car immediately to the left-hand side, full attack mode as he goes into the braking zone, looks to his left and brakes the 100-meter board, coming all the way down the gearbox to first gear and powering his way out. They're loading the preload differential up, and they'll get on the power, making his way through the kink here, past the alternative pit lane entry and up the hill, and let's listen in. Out commitment there for Erosion Radio, and that's what we'd like to see. Up into 7th gear now, in excess already of 180 miles an hour as he charges his way down the Kemmel Straight, and going so fast the Speedo can't keep up as he makes his way into the braking zone here for Lakecom, down the gearbox, down to 3rd gear as he changes the apexes together. Now bring the car to the left hand side and complete the signals to Lakecom through turn number 7. Flat out on the exit, make your way up the gears here in towards the large corner at turn number 8 and braking at the 100-meter board, down the gearbox, down to 2nd gear as he hits the core apex. Keep the car nice and tight and bring the power in before bringing it over to the right for East corner. Open up the left-hander, make your way on through, use the runoff area. Oh, goodness me! And the rear right tyre just goes beyond the runoff area and on to the less grippy runoff tarmac by comparison to the curve, and Sherwood gets it wrong there as he now waits for the field to come on through, but Sam Sherwood pushes it as hard as possible, and they have to try and use as much of that runoff curve as they can on the outside, because it opens up the exit and gives them 1 to 2 miles an hour extra speed. But if you put a rear right tyre, you get the power down beyond that curve, which many a driver has done so in GT3 machines, just as well in GTP class machines. Well, in the most aggressive machines, the car will immediately go round, and Sherwood's got to try and get the car through. But in fact, that's going to be a tow to the pits, and that will be Sherwood's qualifying session over effectively. I do believe he'll be starting from towards the back of the GTP AM class, and that is disaster for Sherwood straight away here. We will not be seeing him take pole. Meanwhile, we looked at Austin William Campbell, winner last time out of Fuji in the GTP Pro class, currently down in P8, but 5.2 seconds off of the fastest, so I don't think he's really got an indicative lap on the board at the moment. I mean, he's just trying to feather his way into this qualifying session, but it definitely looks as though we are going to see some new pole sitters today, and Busby right now still 6 tenths faster than anybody else in the GTP Pro class, with Joe Newman now moving to P2, the Empire Motorsport driver, who was an absolutely flying form at Indianapolis, it must be said. Well, right now, out of the pit lane, he's gone. He's trying to find a way to bring Busby down, but I think it's going to be a tall order here as we do look to Austin William Campbell, and we can see there Edmo saying that Busby has the Spa specialism, and we will look forward to seeing whether that rings true here today. My gut feeling says if we can take pole by a margin of 6 tenths, then this could be a day of domination from the effect simulations driver. Again, we'll have to wait and see. as Austin William Campbell makes his way up through the Rouge Radion complex here, and now on to the Kemmel Straight as he charges wound down. Time continuing to trickle away in this session. I believe Sherwood, in fact, has been permitted back out on to the circuit, ladies and gentlemen. As far as I'm aware, the data does say that he is back out on the circuit, so perhaps he has been given an opportunity. We'll have to wait and see what plays out there in practice after that impact with the wall coming out of its corner. But as Campbell makes his way down towards turn number 8, will mean while we do look from our GTP Pro driver to one of our debutants in what is the GTP AM class, and well, we didn't introduce him earlier formally because in fact he wasn't out on circuit, but here is the Racing Forces Cadillac as powered and driven by Darren Arquette as he makes his way over the rise there with that V8 absolutely roaring out. And well, you love to hear the General Motors machine making its way on down the Kemmel Straight here, V8 firing on all cylinders, and as he heads into the braking zone, will Norquette currently the fastest of the GTP AM drives by 1.5 tenths over Billy Bob Ray. Well, Ray's definitely got some company here, and to be fair, Norquette is no slouch. We've seen him in GT3 class machinery, and he's definitely been vying for the top spots, I should say, in his GT3 classes, and today his target is to try and take that pole position in the GTP AM class, and with only 4.5 minutes to go in this GTP qualifying session, he could just do that if the fortunes stay his way, albeit we have to keep in mind that it does seem to be quite a sizable gap between Norquette and Ray in terms of that 1.6 tenths, but then there's an even bigger gap between Ray and Hay, and really the top two right now in a different class compared to Brandon Hay and also their Salvatore Goriento, in the fact that they are a further 3.5 tenths off. So I think it's going to be a battle for the second row of the GTP AM class, and then the top two have really just locked themselves away in a little bit of a niche battle of their own. But we do see that in classes, to be fair. You do normally see a couple of drivers come to prominence in a class, and then the other drivers have got to play the game will catch up over the course of the season. But then again, let's not read too much into it at the moment. We're only going to be, after today, a third of the way through the season, or just under a third, depending on your mathematical preference. And as they make their way on around here, everybody right now continue trying to find those times. And is anybody on the fly? Well, Darren Arquette right now has improved in subsector 4. That's the run from the start of Stabilo 1 all the way through to the run into bus stop. And as he makes his way out the final corner, well, Norquette went purple in sector 4, personal best in sector 5. Does not quite find it though, stays where he is. Is anybody else improving? Well, Cy Anti at the moment is on a lap that's improving in the second half. He's currently P8 in the GTP Pro class, 2.5 seconds off of the class's pole position as he makes his way across the line, moves up to P3 on a 57.754. So I think he's just had to wait to get the time in. A good lap there from Cy Anthony, and will brings the gap to Newman in P2 down to a degree, and Wilson now moves to P4 by comparison with Jonathan Hitch in P5, but still nobody really able to break the stranglehold that Busby has at the top of those standings. Meanwhile, we do look from Cy Anthony to our debutant Aguariento as he makes way through there, and I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, ladies and gentlemen, that is a tribute livery in tribute to the original Porsche 962, the Rothmans livery there, and if so, that is an absolutely splendid livery. I dare say, if Porsche Motorsport are watching this right now, if they happen to be doing so, please bring this back on the car. We would love to see it next year at Le Mans, albeit we understood that this year it was a 75th anniversary special to coincide with the 100th centenary of Le Mans, but this car looks absolutely dazzling with that livery, I must say, and I am already getting vibes of good old-fashioned Group C prototype racing over the years, indeed predating when I was born and having to look back on the old VHS videotapes. But that's enough nostalgia for you all, ladies and gentlemen, as we do see right now Goriento making his way up towards what will be Blanchefort Corner very shortly. And currently people in the GTP AM class doing quite well in this qualifying session, must be said, to put him right in the middle of that top 5 field. And as he makes his way in towards the bus stop chicane, have one more lap available to him, and I suspect he may be building up to that final lap here. He has improved in subsector 2, which is the run effectively coming out of what is the Kemmel Straight on towards Les Combes and then down towards Rivage. But as he makes way across the timeline this time, does not improve, and he's going to give it one more shot. And well, we've got to oblige him here by riding on board and hearing that Porsche. As he builds his way up the throttle there, now heading into Rouge and Radion, and as he goes into corner, stays over the right initially, then really plants the car on the entry go on the left-hand side, opens up the right-hander and straight lines his way up the hill. It looks absolutely effortless in this car, and there's a lot of downforce available, but I can tell you it's anything but that in the fact that as a driver you have to have full commitment and faith in the car. he makes his way in towards the braking zone here, braking down from 192 miles an hour all the way down to third gear, leaving it as late as possible to snatch third gear away in order to hit the apex. And as he makes his way through turn number 7, mounts the apex curve too high, and the car comes loose, and Guariento in to the barrier there. It looked a very aggressive lap to start off, and well, in the end it gets it wrong, and that will be a tow to the pits right at the end of this session for Guariento, as meanwhile one driver has been on the limit and he sets a 56.965. My goodness, Paul Busby there breaking into the 56s, parks up and says, right, I've done this, I don't need to do any more. That's a microphone drop if I've ever seen one, in the fact that right now Busby absolutely in a world of its own in this qualifying session, and Joe Newman meanwhile will 7/10 behind. He'll be very happy to be P2, but I think he'll feel as though it's pole position for the rest of the field, and this could just be the day of Busby's brilliance, as we can see Newman making his way through the last couple of quarters. Can he bring that gap down a little bit further as the clock's about to strike 15 minutes and the GT3s will be unleashed onto the field? Well, Newman's not going to get another lap in, and that'll be his session done and dusted. He does not improve. Wilson's in the pit lane, so it will turn to Cy Anthony to try and improve very shortly as he makes his way on through what is the Vantage chicane here, and as he comes on down the round, just ahead of him will be Austin William Campbell, who's already making his way through Blanchimont. And in the GTP class, we have had Sam Sherwood take the pole position on a 58.010 after recovering from that impact to the wall, so things have turned around, and Scianti there in contact with the stricken car of what was Guariento that was just parked there on the racing line coming out of Stabilo 2, and whatever was planned for Scianti, well, it's not going to be going to fruition again this time around. Austin William Campbell does improve at stage P5, well, improves to P5, but does not demote Scianti, so Anti does have a bit of a silver line in there, but still clouds over that qualifying session right at the end. But both drivers are out of the cars, and okay, I do believe, as we still do have a couple of drivers yet to finish their qualifying session. Guariento right now, I think, on the inside, coming on towards turn number 16, the kink before Blanchimont, albeit he's now been towed to the pits. And meanwhile, as we look to Ryan Davies here making his way on around the TT Sim Sport machine, ever brilliant with its delivery, as he makes his way up towards the Blanchimont corner. Well, indeed, right now, no stricken cars to account for here. They've got a clear run all the way. Brandon Hayes just in front of them as they make the way on through. And here is Brandon Hay, albeit livery on the car, not quite loading today, it would seem, as he crosses the line. And what's it going to be for Hay? As he crosses the line, it will be no improvement. He stays P4 in the GTP AM class. But meanwhile, Ryan Davies heads to the line. He's improved in the middle sector. It's not enough. The first and last sector were not good enough to improve. Alex Hill improves slightly, but does not move up from P8 in the GTP Pro class. And well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is a nice conclusion and transition now over into our GT3 qualifying session. And well, as our drivers make the way through in the GT3s, the difference is going to be the lap around here is going to be significantly longer. It's almost going to be in the region of 2 minutes 20. And on top of that as well, you'll notice that the GT3s cannot take as much speed from corner to corner, particularly with regards to the middle sector, where all the time really does start to be built upon by the downforce that's available to the GTP prototype machines. But still, as they make the way through, we're looking at Marvin Cruz. He winds up a long line of cars in. They're all going to be very eager to get their qualifying laps in immediately. You can see, in fact, look at the traffic jam that's building between drivers, all even from side to side here. Nobody really wants to be in this jam if possible, because they're all right now just going to be losing time tucked in behind one another. Reece Saunders a bit further up the order here in the Ferrari 296. We've got a car spun round there, and I believe that's one of the Racing Lab esports machines that's gone the wrong way. Not quite sure which one it is, whether it was its own volition or with contact, we're not quite sure of the story. But as they make the way to their first flying lap, it's a very hectic start to the GT3 qualifying session, and understandably so, everybody wants to try and get a lap in as soon as possible. As we see two of the cars further behind them making overtake moves, we've got a car spinning around. That's another one of the Racing Lab esports machines that's got it wrong and has towed its way to the pit lane. But as the drivers make the way on through, well, meanwhile, I'll try and see who that was who got it wrong there, and we can't quite tell you at the moment, but we are still looking at Brandon Hayes. He makes his way up the hill through Irugin Zeradion. Nice run there from the 296 driver, absolutely nailing it. But meanwhile, looking from him to Thomas Barge, the Rexy Mobile, of course, making its way to the braking zone to get ready to go onto its first flying lap. And the 992 here, always a pleasure to see it out there. And the number 3 driver just right now getting himself set up, goes a bit wide there on the exit, but I think still trying to get some heat into those tyres. He makes his way across the timeline and heads on to his first flying lap But as he does so, he's going to be right at the back of the field in terms of this qualifying pack. And I think right now he's gone for the better approach here, which is he's got no pressure to put a banker in. He hasn't got to worry about the toe or catching up to another car, or a car behind him put him under undue duress. Instead, he just focus on getting those laps. He may lose a little bit of time, but still he can get a lap in comfortably and then start to think about where he comes into the pits and tries to fit himself into the rest of the field as they come on around. But meanwhile, Adrian Kukulis losing it there up on as we just catch the Australian driver going on the round. I think the rear of that Porsche just having a little bit too much speed for the rotation available in the car at that time, and therefore Kukulis hitting the barrier, and we're just gradually trying to recover the car, driving backwards at first, trying to get it turned around on the grass, trying to build up a bit of momentum. If you wonder why he's driving in the wrong direction, does so. He brings it off onto the runoff area there. Plenty of runoff area for the exit from corner, and we do see the sister Rex team are built out of the circuit, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. That may be the number. I'm trying to understand which number car that is, but that's the Roxy machine. Not quite sure who's driving it at the moment. We will try and get you an update on that, ladies and gentlemen. But meanwhile, as Anders Meyer makes his way across the timeline, he goes provisional pole in the GT3 Pro class, a 2:16.191. Well, that gives you the idea that they are effectively 20 seconds down, testing myself in mathematics there on the GTPs, and well, right now Myra doing everything right so far in order to set the bar quite high in the BMW M4. And in terms of this GT3 qualifying session, in terms of cars that we're expecting to go well, whereas in the GTP class it really has been the battle of the Cadillacs versus the Acuras thus far, and you can see that in terms of the numbers of them available on the grid versus the Porsche and the BMW. Here in the GT3 class we are expecting there to be quite a balance in terms of the cars, and the fact that the BMW M4 is not really the cornering car, it's more the straight line speed car with a lot of stability over the curves and particularly at low speeds. So the BMW is expected to be quite strong around here. The Ferrari 296 should go quite well as well, in the fact that what it lacks in terms of top end speed, it makes up for in the corners, and the Porsche 992 is the corner specialist, but it will lose out in those high speed sectors. So you put it together here, we could see pretty much anything on pole today, and it'll be interesting to see exactly where our drivers end up and what's going to be on pole in these GT3 classes. As we do see Murray right now, the sole BMW in the top 10 for the GT3 Pro class, and right now trying to buck the trend, there's no doubt about it. But looking from him, we do look to other drivers who's making the way on around, and we do look to what is your provisional pole sitter of the GT3s, and that is James Conley on a 2:17.902. As he makes his way roaring on down the Kemmel Straight, running the colours, of course, in tribute to Valentino Rossi. That's why he runs number 46, I do believe. And as he makes his way down into the braking zone here, and of course Valentino Rossi making a very successful transition from the world of motorcycling to the world of GT3 class racing, GT World Challenge, picking up earlier this year his first win in collaboration with his teammate. And well, right now they continue to push on as he makes his way down into the braking zone here. Well, right now Connie doing everything nice and smooth, and I do believe that is the underlying livery of the car there. Livery's not necessarily loaded fully correctly, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we may do when we transition to the grid, is try and reload some of those liveries for you. But as he makes his way down into the braking zone, get himself set up here, and Connie doing everything he needs to right now in order to take a pole position here. Stay over 8 minutes still left on the clock. But as he makes way from here, and there has been a bit of an incident for Peter Cox making his way out of Blanchemont. Indeed, the car there pointing in the wrong direction, trying to turn it around, so he's out of spin and loses his rear wing for hitting the tyre barrier. As the UK Sim Racing driver finally gets himself back up to speed, but he's had to spend a long time doing so. But as he does, meanwhile, we look to a BMW M4 Racing Lab Esports coming into the bits. That is Steiner Sunny making his way on in, deciding that he needs a bit more time, and as he makes his way on down the pit lane, we do indeed look to John Davies, who comes in to the final couple of corners here on the wonderful colour livery machine. The Ferrari 296 makes his way out the final corner, and we jump on board here with John Davies as he takes you around for a flying lap of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. He's making his way up towards turn at number 1 to his left hand side, and braking about 90 metres from corner apex down to second gear as he hits the apex there at 47 miles an hour. As he makes his way out of the corner, now building up to be a bit of understeer there as he crept out the corner. This Ferrari known for quite a bit of understeer, and as he makes his way up towards turns 2, 3 and 4, let's listen in. Flat out commitment there in 5th gear, high on the rev limiter almost. He makes his way now very shortly onto the Kemmel Straight, and we're going up into top gear. He's going to hold 5th gear as long as he can before he goes into top gear. That's the overdrive gear as he now makes his way into the braking zone and lean it over to the left-hand side, breaking 100 meters from corner apex at the start of the entry curve. Through the right into left he goes, down from third into second in order to help with the rotation. Of course, this will make the car much more twitchy as he upshifts early to third there, coming through turn number 7. A bit of oversteer from connecting with the curb, and we'll have to be wary of that. Breaking down to Ravage now and trying to look for a steady run here down to second gear. We'll hold second all the way through, wait for it, and then get on the power. Brings the car over to the right-hand side and into its corner here, up into third, prematurely in order to keep the speed and the stability. And as he makes his way down towards turn number 10, going into Bourne, on to the brakes he goes, braking 50 meters of corner apex. They have no brake marker, they have to do it on muscle memory. And as he comes down to fourth gear, now building his way round the corner and up towards the Vantage chicane. Brings the car over to the left-hand side and braking 100 meters from corner apex here, using the start of the entry on his left-hand side. Oversteer creeping in, the car really right now dancing around on that rear axle, and as he makes his way on through 13, up into 14, into Stablo 1 he goes, down to third gear, and well, holding 75 miles per hour at the apex, now going through Stablo 2, building up the speed, but misses apex curve. That's going to cause him to lose about 2 to 3 miles an hour, when he brings it up towards Blanchemont corner, and we're still keeping the throttle in here as he goes. He's going to commit to this lap. It's Davies, currently P6 in the GT3 AM class, 8 tenths off of the pole lap, right now trying to go a little bit higher up into top gear. He makes his way flat out there for Blanchemont. We just listened in there. No lift off, full commitment, and now heading to the braking zone, braking 150 meters from corner apex, all the way down the gearbox, stay as far as the left initially, then turning in first gear, and well, decides to go into the pit lane, does not complete lap. Davies feeling as though there is more time out there to be had, and he needs to get a fresh set of tyres on, and perhaps put a little bit more fuel in the car as well. That car was definitely looking very twitchy towards the end of that qualifying lap, and I think Davies feeling as though the car just does not have the right constituents right now, but he can get it sorted. But meanwhile, we do look from him back to the GT3 Pro class, and leaving the pit lane is Heroldis Chitatas, our winner last time out at the Fuji International Speedway, currently half a second off of Anders Meyer, and looking to try and close the gap. There's no doubt about it as he makes his way over the rise there through turns 3 and 4 and on to the Kimmel Straight he goes. As he does so, only 4.5 minutes left on the clock. He's got it all to do now, and indeed with the fact he's only 300ths off of Thomas Aspaug, and then he does have 3.5 tenths to Eric Rosev, who we see back on the grid, and then Anders Meyer will race now. Esports are definitely trying to make it a 1-2 within the class today on the front row of the grid as a minimum, if not stealing more places. And meanwhile, behind Chitatas is this man, the Indian motorsport driver of Hekun Gestad, and he is only 3 tenths off by comparison. Well, not 3 tenths, 300ths we should say. And with that, Gestad definitely right now in a very close knit fight for what could be P3 on the GT3 Pro grid. Can he go further? As meanwhile, Nicholas Rice crosses the timeline very shortly, I do believe, ladies and gentlemen. As he does so, he sits at 2:19, and that will be good enough for what is P8 in the GT3 AM class, as I am to understand it. And will Rice getting his first major lap on the board as the drivers make the way on through. We can definitely tell you that Ben Cullen, Oyvind Brevik and BJ Alvarez not getting laps on the board. Ben Cullen in the GTP Pro class points out Oyvind Brevik and BJ Alvarez both GT3 AM drivers, and neither one getting the time in so far. As we see Gestad falling on behind Ryan Moles, and remember that Ryan Moles did pull off an absolutely brilliant bit of strategy at Fuji to jump his way onto the podium in the sole Audi R8 on this grid, but right now that Audi really struggling. It is down in P19 on the GT3 Pro class. It's 3.4 seconds off of the pole lap. I think Moles must be right now just trying to get a valid lap on the board, and well, I think there might be a few track limit infringements on previous lap, but we saw that at Fuji. It took an eternity for Moles to get a lap on the board, but when he did, he put himself inside the top 4, and he's doing it again now as he crosses the line. And will Moles' lap count? It will not. He's going to have to go again. Ryan Moles right now not having a good qualifying session here, still trying to get those laps in, as meanwhile we do look to what is Steinar Sani, who goes P2 in the GT3 AM class, and here he is as he makes his way on down. He's closed the gap to Conley now down to 2 tenths or thereabouts, but still more time to come. 2.5 seconds left on the clock here as he makes his way on down towards Iridium Radion. And as he does so, well, right now Sani, I think, feeling as though Conley just in a department of his own with regards to the laps he's bringing to the table. And 2 minutes and counting this. So all the drivers will now be on their final qualifying laps, not starting to make the way onto them. And, well, it could not be closer in the midfield of the GT3 AM class, but in particular at the front of the field in the GT3 Pro class. Anders Mara's gap now has been brought down to 1/10 to Eric Rosev, and Heckenristad has in fact slashed the gap he had to the pole sitter down to 3/10. So Gestad creeping into P3. There's still time to go in this session. You look at that, the top 7 separated by 7.5 tenths. It's close here between them, in the fact that whilst there are a couple of tenths between each and every driver, well, round here, if you make a mistake at 1 or 2 corners at Spa, you do lose at least a tenth or two, and that means that it only takes one mistake to be rectified on the next lap, and you can improve significantly as John White improves to what is, I do believe, P18 in the GT3 Pro class. In fact, he was there previously, but he has improved his time slightly. And Mark Collicott as well has just moved into P4 in the GT3 AM class on what was a 18.34. So good going there for the Porsche 992 driver off camera. But as our drivers now begin to make the way on down for their final laps, well, we look from Anders Meyer to Aaron Vergalwe as we do see the driver who racing on his home soil, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. I'm not quite sure whether he lives close to the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Perhaps he can tell us there in the Twitch chat if he does, as he makes the way out of the final quarter and across the timing line right now. 45 seconds to go. Moves up to P6 on the 2:16.847, and well, he's the second highest placed Porsche in the GT3 class, albeit he is being pipped to the post by Jotatus by 1.5 tenths almost, but we did see a rivalry between the two of them for pole position at Fuji, and now that you do have what is quite a few of the racing have esports contingent in there, is shaking things up, and Heckenristad as well getting into mix, but Reece Saunders moves into P6 on the 2:16.704, so he manages to sneak his way in there at the depth of this session. Still got 15 seconds, so he can go on to another legitimate lap as he makes his way out of turn number 1, and now the fuel will be very low in the car, and he'll be looking to go all in on this final qualifying lap as he makes his way up towards what will be the Uruj Radion complex. Meanwhile, who else out there can improve before all is said and done? Well, checker flag is out in this qualifying session. We look to Mark Johnson as we have just had, I believe it was Casper Brotner creep up into P9 in the GT3 Pro class before the death of the session, and as we can see here, Johnson crossed the line, does not improve, stays at P3 on the 219. In fact, a 2:18.25. He does not improve in that lap. That was the 2:19 he's just set. Meanwhile, who else is coming on through? Well, we do have Chris Constable making his way up towards the timing line. And, well, there you have to forgive us for the fact the car's not showing the correct livery. We will try and get that resolved when we transition to the grid for our race today. And Constable making his way out of the final corners here, and will not improving too much in subsector 2, but everywhere else he has improved. He does improve overall, but it's a 2:16.910. It's not enough to gain any places. He comes on in. We've then got Mark Collicott right now, who has gone what is overall best in the GT3 AM class in subsector 2 and 3. This could be a significant improvement for Collicott. He takes provisional pole on a 2:17.812. Is this going to be enough for Collicott as he makes his way across the line? Well, we see Tos Aspau improves to a 2:16.413 just behind the GT3 Pro class, but we still do have a couple more drivers out there, including Aaron Vergalwe. But I think in the GT3 AM class, Collicott has left the best to last, and he's done it. Collicott has taken pole position in the GT3 AM class by what is 900ths over James Conley right at the close. Nobody else is out there. Meanwhile, in the GT3 Pro class, Vergalwe comes into the pits. He's not going to improve any further. So P7 on the grid for him today in class. What about meanwhile Haroldus Jotatus? Well, he's trying to close up. We do have Eric Rosev just about to make his way to the timeline in the #1 car. Defending champion, of course, in the GT3 Elite class in the UK Sim Racing at GT3 League Season 11. As he comes to line, he does improve slightly, but it's not enough. He improves to now a gap of 900ths versus Myra. But meanwhile, coming to line now is Reece Saunders. Does he improve? No, he does not. And then we do have what is, I believe, behind there, Jotatus, and just in front of him is Marvin Cruz. Cruz does not improve. Jotatus does not improve. So nobody else improving at the end of this qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. And that is it for qualifying. And it means GTP Pro and overall pole sitter is Paul Busby. It's then going to be GTP and pole sitter Sam Sherwood. GT3 overall is Anders Meyer, who also takes the Pro pole position. And in the GT3 AM class, it will be Mark Collicott who takes that pole position. So in the end, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a whole new set of pole sitters once again. And the only exception being Sam Sherwood, who has taken pole. And it's a repeat pole position for him following on from Fuji. But without further ado, it's now time for us to get ready to go to the grid. Qualifying is complete. And I think we are just now waiting for the transition timer, which gives us time in the back background to start reloading our drivers' liveries, and well, we'll get those all sorted for when we do go to the grid. Hopefully those incorrect liveries will be resolved. But what a qualifying session has been, and dominance at the front of the field from the GTP Pro pole sitter Paul Busby, but everywhere else extremely close. Was the grid gets set, this is how they'll line up for the third round of the season. It's Paul Busby who takes overall in GTP Pro pole position for Effect Simulations by 6.5 tenths over Joe Newman for Empire Motorsport. Behind him on row number 2 is Joshua G. Wilson for Effect Simulations, joined by the GTP AM pole sitter of Sam Sherwood there for ProTech Motorsport. Congratulations to him, and a phenomenal pole lap, it must be said. Cy Anthony and Austin William Campbell line up on your third rider grid, the privateer head of the Symphony Esports driver, with Alex Hill line up on the fourth rider grid for Tiki Simsport Corpa, joined by Ryan Davis for Tiki Simsport. We then have Jonathan Hitchens starting at P9 for Symphony Esports, and then racing at Forces Darren Roquette. The runner-up in the GTP AM class starts P10, and then it will be Billy Bob at Ray for Empire Motorsport, just following on behind in third place in the GTP AM class, joined on the sixth row by Alexander Trino McAlson for Racing Lab Esports Moza. We then have on row number 7 Brandon Hay for Newbridge Esports and Salvatore Goriento on his debut for Muriel.io. And on row at number 8 it's David Larson for Symphony Esports and Tiger Racing Team's David Rutherstone. Rob Armstrong for UK Sim Racing Bell takes P17 ahead of Sloan Steady Racing's Richard Jones. And as we then come to the completion of top 20, it's John Dale for Tiki Simsport Corpa and UK Sim Racing Bell's Aaron Beaver. On then, the 11th rider grid to start off the GT3s, overall pole sitter and pro pole sitter, it's Anders Meyer for Racing Lab Esports Moza. He'll then be followed up by Eric Rosev for Racing Lab Esports KTM, the two sister teams locking out the front row, with Thomas Aspal starting behind them, P3 in the class, P23 overall for Racing Lab Esports Car X, and then it's Ignium Motorsports Hakon Gestad who starts P24. We then have on row at number 13, Reece Saunders for Team Year 1 and Over Limit Racing's Heroldus Chatatas, P26, head of Aaron Vergawa for Short Competition Esports, and Ryan Moles for ProTech Motorsport. Chris Constable starts P29 for UK Sim Racing Mansell, joined on the 15th row of the grid by Stein Arsani for Racing Lab Esports Car X, who in the end did take the pole position for the GT3 AM class. It has been confirmed to me just in my ear that right now the lap that was set by Mark Collicott was an invalidated lap, and therefore it has not counted. And then on was row number 16, it's Casper Brotner for Old Dudes in Cars and Downforce Racing's Chris Kirkland, head of Old Dudes in Cars Daniel Pace, P33, and Darren Sharples, P34 for UK Sim Racing Mansell. Adrian Kukula starts P35 for Short Competition Esports, ahead of Joshua Pratt for Tiki Simsport. And on a row at number 19, it's Pete Cox for UK Sim Racing Hill, ahead of Mark Collicott for AI Race Series DCW Racing. Your top 40 completed by James Connolly for UK Sim Racing Hill and UK Sim Racing Mansell's Mark Johnson. Row 21 going to what is Marvin Cruz for Old Dudes in Cars and Matt Edmondson for UK Sim Racing Hill. Row 22 going to Lawrence Marsh for Downforce Racing and John Davis for the wrong stuff. Then the penultimate row is Kerry F. Kokoran for Downforce Racing and Tiki Simsport Simon Hartley. And then it's Nicholas Rice for Dirty Rice Racing and John Watt together. But we're about to go racing, ladies and gentlemen, and as we do, with the field holding a position right now as they make the way up towards the start line. Of course, they're not allowed to go green flag racing right now. This will bite into a bit of racing time, but as they make the way on through the first corner, they get ready to go green flag racing. And we had a few more rows to go through, but we had to stop there due to the start of the race. And without further ado, it is time for Busby to take us to the green. And he immediately does. He gets underway and it's lights out and away we go for the GTP class. So they charged away up the hill and in towards turns 2, 3 and 4. But Busby holds the lead as they make the way on through. Everybody charging their way through in full force. And meanwhile, well, the GT3s are still getting themselves set and ready to go here. And we're now going to look to their race start as they make the way of the line very shortly. And as they do so, getting it ready to go, we're about to build up the speed here, and it's going to be Anders Meyer who takes them to the green, and there they go as well, as they make the way away and up the hill in towards Uruj and Radion. And well, everybody right now coming together and all getting into a line very quickly indeed, as they make the way on through, and as they charge up the hill, everybody coming on safely through. A couple of 2 wides there, including 2 wide between Pete Cox and Mark Collicott as they exchange position, albeit the battle on, and Pete Cox holding off Mark Collicott as James Connolly looking to get into the fight as they make the way into the braking zone. Coming charge on through is Mark Johnson, 3 wide there between Johnson, Cruz and Edmondson as they head into the braking zone. And who's going to be the one to back out Edmondson on that inside line? He's going to take the position there of what it is. I do, in fact, that's not Edmondson, it's Edmondson falls behind, we should say. Now James Connolly holding on Mark Johnson, and Johnson in the end makes the position count. But meanwhile, we did cut away from our GTPs at the start. Let's see the GT3 start as well. We've got a car off in the back of the picture, and that is, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think that's Brandon Hayes had a bit of an incident, and meanwhile Salvatore Goriento has gained the place of David Larson as they power their way through Stavlo 2 and make their way towards the end of the first lap as they charge their way up towards the braking zone. Well, right now it's going to be Alex Hill who's in a bit of an exchange here side by side, and that is with, I do believe, Jonathan Hitchin, as Hitchin takes the position of Alex Hill. Simon so for Blanchman, but Hill being made to go the long way around the houses, and as they come to the end of the first lap, well, my goodness, the battle between the two of them could not be closer, but after one lap of racing, it's Paul Busby who leads. And of Joe Newman P2, Cy Anthony P3, Joshua Wilson P4 as they make their way through the camera. Jonathan Hitchin P5, Alex Hill P6, Alexander Trino McAlston is P7 in the GTP Pro class, but between him and Alex Hill is Darryl Norquette, albeit Darryl Norquette having a bit of a fishtail moment there, a bit of power oversteer. He's going to drop down to what is P8 overall. Now he's got both Salvatore Guariento and Billy Bob Ray immediately behind him. Guariento looking up the inside there, can't quite find it, going defensive versus Ray in return. They make their way through the corner side by side, they come into contact and into the wall, they both go. Guariento and Billy Bob Ray, and Carr coming across the circuit, my goodness, and there's debris everywhere and everyone takes evasive action. I don't know how they managed to dodge that, and we're too wide through Region Radio, and that's not worked out there for Guariento or Billy Bob Ray, but still for everyone else to safely make it through, that's testament to the fast reactions of all of our drivers. But meanwhile, speaking of fast reactions here, well, David Rulliston is now going to have fast reactions if he wants to try and hold off this man, or what is Brandon Hay, as they make the way down in towards Rivage Corner, and Hay up the inside here, gaining the place. And the Acura driver, who was off in the gravel at the Fangio chicane on the opening lap, now starting to make a recovery. But as they make their way on through the left-hander of turn number 10, well, turn number 9, I should say, heading down towards turn number 10, the right-handers of Purton Corner. Well, right now, we've got Rulliston losing out, but meanwhile, we've got Darryl Norquette going slowly here. As Norquette got a problem. He was leading, and he's dropped down the lead. I think he's picked up an automated slowdown for track limits. That's the only way I can explain why he's just suddenly lost 2 seconds out of nowhere to David Larson and Richard Jones, who have taken P1, P2 in the GTP AM class. But either way right now, it's a surprise and not a welcome one to be sure if you're an 86 fan, as we do see the Racing Forces machine on its day. We're having a difficult day. Sam Sherwood as well losing out massively at the start of this race. He was on pole in the GTP AM class. We didn't quite get to see what happened to Sherwood. Unfortunately, we can't get you a replay of that due to technical limitations today, and therefore we'll just have to try and understand. I think Sherwood must have had a bit of a poor start compared to his rivals, and therefore he's now having to recover once again. Rob Armstrong being passed by Sherwood there, but then again, much like we saw at Fuji, Sam Sherwood came from down in what was P9 in the class to storm its way to victory, and then by a sizable margin he could do the same again as they make the way up towards turn at number 1. And in fact, we have just had confirmation, ladies and gentlemen. You may recall about the fact we were wondering if Sherwood was permitted to put another lap in. We'll pause that for a moment. Richard Jones has gone round, and it's anything but slow and steady for the SAS Racing driver now, in the fact I think it's been a bit too fast and furious and almost into the wall there as he turns the car back around in the 999. But what a difficult moment there for Richard Jones, and as he brings himself back up to speed now, he falls to the back of the GTP AM running field with Ran Guariento in the pit, and Jones having some slight connectivity issues, but I think they are being resolved immediately. But meanwhile, here comes Sherwood again up the inside, this time of Larson, and just makes it look like harmony as he comes on through, in the fact that Sherwood absolutely roaring. I think his rivals around him right now are simply raising their eyebrows and going, well, if he's going to come through this fast, we may as well let him go, given how early in the race it is. But then again, will Darryl Norquette really stick the fight in? That's the question you've got to wonder as they make the way up through Higgs Corner. And well, we have had that clarification from Medmo in the Twitch chat that with regards to the fact that Sherwood did return to the circuit after being towed off circuit after his incident at what was Higgs Corner in qualifying, he wasn't permitted to put a lap in, so he put it on pole, but he gave up the place at the start of the race as we understand it, and therefore that has been his effective penalty. But already Sam Sherwood doesn't need an excuse anymore to come charging through the field. He's doing it incredibly quickly. Meanwhile, this is Ben Cullen battling side by side with Aaron Beaver, albeit it's going to be the GTP Pro ahead of the GTP AM driver now, as the effect simulation drive gained another place. Remember, Ben Cullen did not get a lap time in the qualifying session, so he started from the very back of the GTP class and having to do it the hard way. And right now, I can definitely tell you he's doing a great job thus far, the 79 driver, as he makes his way on towards Blanchimont. But as he does so, meanwhile, we do look a bit further back to the GT3s here, and well, it's the long line of Norwegians, the top 4 here in the GT3 Pro class, and that's because they all hail from the same country. And it's Anders Meyer ahead of it, Rose Edward Toss, Aspau and Hekon Gestad as they make the way weaving on through. Reece Saunders just behind by 1.3 seconds, and there's Haroldas Jatatas with Aaron Vergawe, Ryan Miles, Chris Curtin and Chris Constable completing your GT3 overall and Pro top 10, with the leading GT3 and driver in Steiner Sani down P1 is 31 overall of all the classes together, and Effecti down in P12 in the GT3 overall classification. But as they make their way into the braking zone here, Augustad right now just staying close to the back of Aspau, and I think this is going to be a game of who flinches first on the strategy. in the fact they're all together here in a long line, and this is the optimum condition for doing some fuel saving. But meanwhile, just behind Ryan Moles here in the Audi R8, the car from 2015 does not want to give in. Indeed, the R8 LMS, we haven't got the Evo or the Evo 2 here on iRacing, we've got the original machine, and as it makes its way around there, all 10 cylinders absolutely roaring to life, and as he makes his way up to a logical corner right now, with Moles under a little bit of pressure from Kirtland behind, but the gap seems to be relatively stable at this time. But then again, it could be Kirtland just building up to a bit of a crescendo here, and well, looking on further down the order, James Conley, well, he had a difficult start to this race, lost out a multitude of places, albeit he is behind Simon Hartley right now, as Hartley there under a bit of pressure as they make the way in towards the Blanchemont corner, and we ride on board with the 46, and the Englishman here, thinking out Hartley goes defensive into the braking zone, they go. It's going to be side by side as they come on down, and as they do so, well, Conley's going to go the outside to inside, Hartley clutches close to the apex curve there. I think he could have given himself a little bit more room, but indeed he's got himself hung up on the apex curve, and it's enabled Conley to really gain the speed and come on around. In fact, Conley put in half a second over what was Hartley there through the chicane, and that shows you, I think Hartley's just a bit too tight on that curve, but still I think playing it safe and conscious of the fact he can use Conley to pull him up to his rivals in front as they make the way on to the next lap for the GT3s. The GT3s now onto lap number 4. Already, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering where the GTPs are, here is your race leader, Paul Busby. He's already onto lap number 5. He's only about 15 seconds away from what is the GT3s on circuit right now, and the Effect Simulations driver is just pulling away 2 seconds ahead of Joe Newman. That gap has already opened up. It doesn't sound like much, but when you think that's how close it was at Indianapolis and Fuji for the drivers, right now Busby really just controlling this race at the front of the field, it would seem, after 9 minutes of race have almost passed. But as he makes his way down the Kemmel Straight here, further back you can see Cy Anthony and Joshua Wilson. They're getting closer to one another right now. We ride on board and look back from the rear of the Welshman's car as they make their way into the braking zone here for Lecon, and Wilson a bit more aggressive on the brakes. There's a battle of the 2 Cadillacs here, and Wilson of course does have that slipstream. It will give him a couple of extra miles an hour on the straights. In fact, worth up to 6 miles an hour on the length of the Kemmel, depending on how much rear wing each of the cars running. As he makes his way down in towards the large corner here, Wilson will be getting closer and closer, albeit now going into this middle sector. He'll find that dirt here does become a bit of a pain to deal with, and it is going to cause some innate understeer. That will cost him as well. Car around there, BJ Alvarez into the coming out of X corner, but on the grass. I think right now anyone will be clear of the stricken GT3 992, and well, meanwhile Cy Anthony gets the better run. They're coming down for the corner, but takes a very tight exit to the corner. I think he's trying to break the toe here of Wilson. I think he's worried about the fact that Wilson is just all over him, and that is John Watt in front in the Roxy machine, who right now, well, the female version of Rexy making its way around there and having to deal with some GT3 or GTP traffic, and the GT3 driver there just taking his race line, which is his mandate. But as they make the way on through, you can definitely see how that's cost Wilson some time. The gap up to 3/4 of a second now as they make the way on towards Blanchemont corner, and 10 minutes passes. But as they make the way on through, meanwhile we look back here to the battle in the GT3 Pro class, and this is Rhys Saunders under attack from Harold Jatatas with Aaron Bagawe just behind. And with these 2 Porsche drivers, they know a lot about one another already in terms of battling hard in the opening 2 rounds. Saunders now is going to get the brunt of what is the double German machinery behind, but the Italian stallion Ferrari looks to try and hold on as they make the way on through. But look at Bagawe, he's all over the back of the pair of them, but Jatatas is closer. Jatatas looks to go around the outside here. Saunders is going to defend the inside. Can Bagawe make it 3 wide, or does he just tuck in behind Jatatas and try and give him a little bit of motivation to come on through? Into the braking zone they go. A bit of a squeeze there to the outside for what was Saunders on Jatatas, but still giving enough racing room to survive. And as they make the way on through, coming on through at turn number 7 right now, no change between them. Meanwhile, Ryan Moles is trying to fend off what is doubly Chris Constable, just trying to put the move on him, coming in towards what's Lecom, and the Protect Motorsport driver hanging in there at the moment as they wind their way on down the round. But as they do so, it's getting very close to these GT3 classes. Meanwhile, it's almost 3 wide. Almost 4 wide there, or 2 by 2 you could say, between drivers, and that is, I believe, Peter Cox coming up the inside of what is Mark Collicott, who's gone off the road there. I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but meanwhile the GTPs now are starting to slice their way through, and this is where it becomes bedlam in the fact that if you're a GTP driver, you've got to pick the right time to make your way past by the GT3s, and Adrian Kukulas there on the inside of Chris Kirtland, who goes wide in in, letting the GTP traffic through Braun corner. And there goes Joe Newman through in the Empire Motorsport GTP. And as they come down, Kukulis gains a place for Short Competition Esports. This is a P13, the GT3 Pro class. We've got 19 GT3 Pros out here, and we couldn't get all the grid done in the end for the simple reason, ladies and gentlemen, in the fact so many drives, 54 cars, or 53 cars on the grid today. We covered 46 of them, but it is a packed circuit out there, and it's amazing to see on that circuit map on the top right corner of your screen that they're all within the space of what is the final sector of the lap practically at the moment as they make the way on through, and it is absolutely tight as it comes. Meanwhile, we look to Mark Collicott, who has got Billy Bob Ray immediately behind him. Billy Bob Ray, of course, on a recovery after that contact with Gloriento and coming on through Rugen Radion on lap number 2, and he's still trying to pick his way through, but Collicott battling here with Johnson. Johnson defends to the inside, a little bit battling under the brake, and we've got a car going very side. That's Casper Bront who's lost a rear wing, I think, for a spin coming out of Blanchemont. Whether it was aided with contact another driver, we're not quite sure of the story. And you see how Davis and Edmondson behind are both closing up here, and Johnson right now having to go defensive, negotiate traffic. He's got a multitask as if his life depends on it in terms of this race, and you can understand why right now these two are falling backwards to the rest of the field as they all make their way into the source. It's absolute poetry in motion, albeit chaotic poetry in motion. I wouldn't be quite sure what the stanzas are on that, but as they make their way up towards turns 2, 3 and 4, where you can see right now everyone having to go line astern in the GT3 battle as they make their way to Uruja and Radion, even more so with the traffic coming through. We've got a car pointing the wrong way. That is Steinar Sani from the lead of the GT3 AM class. He's got it wrong over the rise, and well, the Racing Out Esports Car X driver, who was potentially the favourite here today to take the win the GT3 AM class, it's now in disaster for the time being. It's down to P9. He brings himself back together. That car looks like it's been for a spin and nothing more. I don't think there's been contact. Meanwhile, looking up into what is the GTP class, this is Darryl Norquette battling side by side with Rob Armstrong. Around the outside to inside, he goes to Darryl Norquette for P4 in the GTP AM class as he battles with the Acura of Armstrong as they come down towards turn number 8. And with Armstrong there trying to get through versus Corcoran, he wants the space, and Corcoran respects it as they make their way through, but now he's got more traffic in front of him. Edmondson there, who's got nowhere to go, and again Armstrong has to wait patiently, but he'll be seething now in the fact that Norquette has made this traffic work to his advantage. And meanwhile, Ben Cullen now trying to make some progress versus John Doble as they crisscross between the GTP Pro and the GTP AM driver. And they come on down through Braun corner, but as they make their way up towards what will be the braking zone here for the right-hander of Vantage Chicane, turn at number 12. We've got a car that's pointed the wrong way there for a brief moment, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. Ryan Moles had an off track, but that wasn't the car we saw going wrong. But as they draw their way on around, meanwhile, we look up to Cy Anstey here, who is under some pressure from Joshua Wilson as they head into the braking zone. And as they come on through, no change. I can report as well, Joe Newman has dropped down to the P8 in the GTP Pro class. I wonder whether perhaps there's been some contact between Newman and one of our GT3s. Perhaps that might explain what's happened to what Steinar Sani. Again, we are just hypothesising here. We haven't seen anything, but it's just a bit unexpected to see Joe Newman drop a long way down the order all of a sudden, and we haven't got any information to the wiser. But as we see Cy Anstey here ahead of Wilson, Wilson getting very close to 1 point, but we're now falling back here. And I think the effect simulation is right. It's just probing how he can test the privateer and see whether he can get under his skin. But as they make the way on through, we have had a major shunt for what is, I do believe, Nicholas Rice further down the order, albeit we haven't got any footage at the moment. I'm hearing that in my ear. Albeit I think it was just parking on Apex at the bus stop. I think in negotiation of traffic, in fact, so we will suspend that fault for the moment. There is Newman making his way out the inside. Rice and Lawrence Marsh getting close together. James Conley just in front as Newman clears the trio of GT3 AM drivers. And as they make the way up towards turns 2, 3 and 4 right now, well, it's going to be a bit of a stalemate between them. Nobody's going to get close here for the simple reason they've had a bit of a lull in the traffic as they roar their way onto the Kemmel Straight. Meanwhile, we do have what is a bit of a battle further up the order between John Davies and Matt Edmonds here, and Edmondson looking for the move on the inside, but there goes Newman. Edmondson backs out there, I think understandably so, but Davies goes overly deep, the wrong stuff there, getting it wrong into the braking zone, but now making it the right stuff as he comes on through turn number 7, fending off the attack of Edmondson as they make the way down towards Raj corner. And I thought Davies there might have even missed his apex at turn number 6, given how deep he went, but he managed to collect the car back together. And I think Edmondson's conservatism there, albeit trying to play it safe, which is the smart thing to do, but it just took away the opportunity for him to try and sneak around the outside. We've got a car off. That's Joe Newman into the wall, coming on through what's the left-hander of Vic's corner. He brings himself back up to speed, but Newman really now having a difficult day of racing here after an earlier incident, which we don't know too much about. We know it dropped him out of P2 down to P8, and well, it's going to now be Newman who tries to make his way back up through the order here, flashing his lights absolutely intensely here, trying to get all the GT3s to step aside. But the thing is, for the GT3, again, they're entitled to the racing line, and it is the faster class that has to negotiate them safely, not the other way round, as they make their way up towards Stablo 1 here. Newman does clear them in the end, but you can imagine right now fast and frantic will be Newman, as meanwhile coming on through it behind, that's Austin William Campbell making his way on through, and well, for this Infinite driver there, in fact gaining overall position. So Austin William Campbell's definitely had a difficult race. He had to visit the pits once already today, so something's gone very wrong for him, albeit we don't know quite the story there. But meanwhile, my goodness, well, it is 3 wide there in the battle for what is GT3 Pro P4. Hollister Tartars battling with Reece Saunders coming on through, and also we have there what is just behind them, I do believe, Thomas Aspal, and just in front is Hakan Christian. In fact, Christian has gained 2 places on the run down that start-finish straight, so that explains a bit of a story as they make their way through. But goodness me, everyone together there and trying to negotiate as they made the way on through the source. It was absolutely intense, and they seem to have all got away with it. And now Jatarta's under pressure from Saunders as they make the one down, and Saunders peels to the outside immediately before the gearbox camera can show it in full. And as they make their way down to the braking zone, where's going to be Saunders on the outside, Jatarta's on the inside. The Porsche's got the better brakes, but the Ferrari's got the speed, and it looks like Saunders is going to go around the outside to inside. Can he get the move all said and done? Jatarta's comes back, the Lithuanian driver here sticking in it to win it. And meanwhile, we see they're coming on through. That is going to be the GTP and machine of Aaron Beaver now, but Jatartas is still there. This is brilliant racing between the Porsche and Ferrari driver. They come through the right-hander Rivage now into X. They're still too wide. Well, as they come through left-hander, someone's got to give way, and Jatartas does. But look at Vergawe. Vergawe now looks to build the momentum here as they come on down. He's going to be on the inside versus Jatartas, although he can't quite get fully alongside. He backs out there as they make the way into Bourne Corner, and as they charge the way down through the left-hander and up towards what is turn number 12, coming in towards the braking zone. We can see a clarification there from Quing with regards to what happened to Austin William Campbell and the fact disconnection on the 4 Nation lap. And I'm very sorry to hear about that, and not the ideal way to start the race whatsoever, but still in the race all the same right now, trying to make up some places. But as the drivers make the way through turn at 14 and 15 here, we stay transfixed on this GT3 Pro battle, and right now this battle for P4 is definitely becoming primary position versus Hector Stadler's running off in P3 up the road. But Reece Saunders now will be hoping for a little bit of a calm here, so that way he can just simply manage that P3 and try to make some further progress. But will he be able to? That's the question. As meanwhile, we look to Joshua G. Wilson here, who now has Jonathan Hitchin closing up. And then Wilson for some time was putting a lot of pressure on Cy Anthony, but now it seems like the shoe's on the other foot, and Wilson is the one being pressured here by the Infinite Esports driver, and Hitchin really are now trying to push on here, really trying to get his championship campaign into second gear today after what's been a difficult start to the season. We see Wilson there bouncing off of the exit of the car, literally rocking back and forth. They make their way through Rivage Corner and down they go, and Wilson's car just definitely not looking as comfortable on the circuit right now versus the BMW of what is Hitchin. And I do wonder when we're starting to see a little bit of the strength of the BMW MV8 hybrid appear here, in terms of the fact that the deeper it goes into the race, perhaps it just starts to naturally unlock a little bit more pace compared to the Cadillac. We know the Cadillac is the fastest car on the straight. We've seen it the first 2 rounds of the season. The Cadillac just roars off into the distance, but in the corners, meanwhile, this BMW does look to be a little bit more hooked up by comparison as they make the way on through the Fandom chicane for the 10th time of asking. As they head in towards Stablo 1 here now, we'll have a long straight. You'll get to see what he is, a good old bit of American V8 muscle, a bit of a hybrid tacked onto it, starting to break away as they bore through. And in fact, they get now 5.5 tenths. They come over Stablo 2, and despite being in the tow here, Hitchin is not going to close up anywhere as near as rapidly as he would like to. He'll gain with half a tenth before they make their way to Blanchimont, and continue to gain here as he heads up towards the bus stop chicane. It's a tenth at most as they make their way into the braking zone, and Wilson more than safe as he comes in to the final 2 corners of this lap. But again, through the corners, you can see Hitchin much more aggressive on his apexes, and that's enabling him to close the delta, albeit for a brief moment, as they make the way on to the next lap. But as they head on through, meanwhile, we look back here to the GTP and Glass, and this is the battle for P3 and Glass between Rob Armstrong and Darren Norquette. Behind them is John Doble, who's continuing to close up as they make the way through Blanchimont Corner. Norquette has had the better run off the corner initially, but in fact, Armstrong has been able to open that gap up a little bit more. Into the braking zone they go. John Doble there with the front right lock up on the brakes and manages to get it released in time before the car can completely understeers onwards, and well, with that, it's going to be Doble now. He's going to have to nurse that front right tyre for a little bit due to overheating as they make their way in towards turn number 1 once again. But as they do so, kind of through at the right-hander, will they come roaring on through turn number 1 into turn 2, and meanwhile, we look back to Jonathan Hitchin here, because we've just had Hitchin make his way up into P3, and Wilson is off into the wall here. I'm not quite sure what's happened, but the Effect Simulations driver, bad luck strikes again, and it seems as though for some reason he's out of the race, and I think that may be contact with a wall and what is at Lake Com, albeit we can't be sure as to what exactly's happened. But Wilson's race in tatters, and well, this time it's been of an instant on circuit. But meanwhile, as we look here to James Conley, James Conley chasing after Matt Edmondson in the GT3 AM class, and as they make their way down, the two teammates here for UK Sim Racing will run in P3 as they roar the way up towards the next lap and heading in towards the braking zone. And well, we are hearing in the Twitch chat, ladies and gentlemen, another technical issue for Joshua Wilson. He just cannot get a lucky break from Wilson, and hopefully those technical issues will be able to be resolved soon, because I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if he can get them resolved, I think he definitely could be one of our contenders for the championship this season, the GTP Pro class. But things just not on his side right now. Meanwhile, the big question is here for the two UK Sim Racing Hill drivers, are they on the same side, or does one of them want to make some progress? As Edmondson and Conley right now literally nose to tail. Conley here, surely he's got to be plotting a move in the fact as he looks to the outside, or I think Edmondson on that inside might consider just letting off the throttle slightly, although then saying that again, they've both got an opportunity here to try and take a shot at Mark Johnson. Johnson there going a bit defensive in the middle row, getting the two teammates to scrap over this, and as they make the way through Lake Com, Conley's going to be outside to inside, back to outside here. Edmondson on the inside, and well, in the end he does give up the position, does Edmondson, albeit being made to, and here comes Nicholas Rice. Look at Rice right up the inside, here he goes, and Rice right now saying, with you guys that keep arguing over the position, don't mind if I do, I'll just put my foot in and get the door wide open. And Nicholas Rice there, the Dirty Rice Racing driver, well, that was anything but dirty. That was clean as a whistle for the 32 driver, and a lovely move there as he makes his way into P4 in the GT3 AM class. I don't think Edmondson's going to be quite believing the fact that he's not just lost one, he's lost 2 places in the end, and it's all come in a very quick period of corners. But as they make the way onwards towards what is turn number 13, well, we can see Edmondson now under pressure, and John Davies, and Davies trying to take a little bit of a run here at Edmondson, and it looks like Edmondson right now just out of rhythm as he comes up towards turn number 14, in the fact going into Stablo 1. Everybody behind him right now really is picking off places one by one here, but still it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass. And as they make the way out of Stablo 2, where it's now going to be for Davis to try and find his way to close up behind Edmondson, he'll be in the tow, but it's 3/10 a gap, and he's going to need to be a lot more closer than this by the time he gets to the bus up chicane if he wants to make what is a comfortable move for a position. As they roll their way on through at Blanchimont. Meanwhile, we look up to the GT3 Pro class here of Vigawe versus Jotatus, and well, we keep saying it, but it's true, ladies and gentlemen, you find one of them on circuit, you'll find the other immediately behind or very close behind. And as they make the way on through Miruja and Radion, they are literally nose to tail here as they make the way onwards. Matt Edmondson's into the pit lane, we should point out, ladies and gentlemen, in that battle for what was P5 in the GT3 class. So he's decided to go strategy early, but Vigawe versus Jotatus. Jotatus on the inside, can't quite make it work in the overspeed, and Vigawe simply holds firm as he holds on to that P5 for short competition esports. But the Belgian driver here definitely trying to put the great points on home soil, but the point being that Jotatus knows the tail behind him here, and the Lithuanian driver also eager to try and take the accolades off of the number 16. As they make the way on down for the right-hander and onwards towards turn number 9 they go. Well, meanwhile from them we do have what is a growing battle further down the order between Simon Hunt and Thomas Barnett, which we'll try and bring you very shortly. And well, meanwhile Vigawe here just simply holding on for now as we look back from the rear of the number 16992, and well, Jotatus there getting a bit too close to the apex, coming into turn number 10 with a bit too much speed, and therefore losing out quite sizably. The gap now up to 5.5 tenths as they make the way up through the Vantage chicane. Car pointing the wrong way, and this is very much mistaken. It's Casper Brotner, who was a lap down already. Therefore Casper Brotner, well, here's a race going from good to bad to disastrous in quick succession, and for Brotner a difficult day at the office, no doubt about it, as the GT3 Pro driver looks to try and recover later on. But meanwhile Vigawe here breaking away, and he's put himself ample gap now as Jones on a recovery drive in P8 in the GTP AM class, now gaining some more position time over the GT3s. as they make the way on through. Meanwhile, we do look back to that battle which we were telling you about moments ago between Simon Hartley and Thomas Barjack, but in fact now Barjack has fallen away with Brandon Hay coming on through, and in fact it's Hartley versus the driver just in front of them, Kerry F. as they make their way into the braking zone, and as they come on through the right-hander on the Bandit chicane, the Tiki Sunsport Tower driver not quite close enough to look for the move just yet. He is trying to think about it to gain overall GT3 position. That will just help him start to move up towards the next GT3 ARM driver of Stein Sani. Albeit he does have 4 GT3 pros between that's Korin, Watt, Asphaug and Moles before he finally gets to his target destination. He makes his way up towards West Blanchimont corner here. Meanwhile, we do look to the GTP AM class, and this is Rob Armstrong, who right now P5 in class, the UK Sim Racing Bell, but behind him he has Lowerson, the Symphony Esports driver, charging after him as they make the way up towards turn number 17 into the fast left hand. They go both on the tight line there with Edmondson taking the wide line, and as they make the way around that camera angle for a brief moment, showing you the speed and ferocity, they make the way on through the corner, and now onto the brakes they go. 27 minutes complete. Armstrong goes deep under braking. That's going to give Lowerson all the door he needs in order to come on through, and in the end Lowerson makes the place there quite comfortably, and Armstrong just with a mistake but doesn't lock up the brakes, interestingly. So I think he recognised when he went onto the brakes, no, I've got it wrong, I've got to release the brakes before they lock, and immediately doing so that Armstrong will save himself some tyre life, but it also means he doesn't lose as much time versus Lowerson. He only loses a second in the end in the handover. He makes his way back up to speed. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, this man right now is absolutely storming away. Given the fact we have now been, what is 25 or so minutes, in fact 20 or so minutes I should say, since last time we looked at full Busby, now 10.5 seconds clear of sight and the P2 in the GTP Pro class, and well, the 420 driver here absolutely on form as he makes his way on through Stablo 1, very close there to Aaron Fagawe. I think just about to deal with the difference between himself and the GT3 driver, but Busby on fire as he makes his way up towards turn number 17, but as he does so, meanwhile, looking to some GTP's battling for position. Well, this is Salvatore Goriento battling with Austin William Campbell. It's for overall position, not for class position, in the fact that right now Austin William Campbell, the pro driver, under increasing pressure in P8 in his class versus the P10 in class GTP AM driver, and as they make the way down through his corner, we jump on board here with the 210 driver as he makes his way in towards turn number 10. As Porsche driver, the Porsche may not be popular, I should say, but it's got a driver here who's definitely going to try and make it popular, and as he makes his way down through the double left-hander, wins the Austin William Campbell with the fact he's able to clear the GT3 traffic a little bit sooner by comparison, therefore not as compromised going through Bourne. So Goriento now having to try and recover the time he's lost, as fortune's not fallen favourably for him this time around, but coming in to the right-hander there of Stablo 1, it gives a nice run, and into Stablo 2, but the gap right now increasing, and Austin William Campbell, I think, now feeling as though he's got himself back in the rhythm. But meanwhile, we look from them back to this battle at Blanchimont from only moments ago, but this time you may feel as though it's a bit of deja vu, for it is an Armstrong defending versus Lowerson this time. So they've had the exchange on circuit early on. That's well, Armstrong got back ahead. As they make the way across the timeline, it's now Armstrong who's P5 and staying P5 for now. Lowerson right behind him, and as they make the way up towards turn number 1, these two absolutely inseparable right now. It would seem as though their battle is going to go the distance on this opening stint, and do keep in mind that we got to see at Fuji last time that the GTP, some GTP drivers going the best part of 55 minutes before making their pit stop. Well, I don't quite think they're going to be going that long today without making the pit stop. In fact, they may bring it in a little bit earlier, but the point being here, this battle could take a very long time to resolve, because if it's not resolved on circuit, it'll be resolved on strategy, but you've got to pick the right time in which to come on in. And looking at that circuit map right now, I think if anybody in front of them was to pit, they may be able to come in a bit of clear track, given the fact you can see that on the circuit map. We do have plenty of room emerging on what is the run coming out of Stablo 2 on towards the bus stop chicane, albeit it will be occupied very shortly by the GT3 pro leaders, but the point being there is room on the circuit. If anybody can get themselves into that room, they may gain a sensational amount of time. Meanwhile, looking from these two battling for P5 in the GTP AM class to our P2 GTP AM driver. This is Brandon Hay with Alexander Truna McCalson behind, and then Billy Bob Ray, who's a lap down at P9 in GTP AM class, also staying in the battle. And we're right now the Britannia Brandon Hay in the 96, drawing his way on around here, and the Acura driver I think conscious of the fact that Trina McCalston behind him won't really be battling him for class positions. He may just let this go once they come out of Blanchimont, or will he fight it? That will be on his mind. Heckenrich straight into the pit lane for his scheduled stop in the GT3 Pro class. That's from P4 in the class. So I think deciding to call it early, perhaps giving himself a little bit more strategic variety in the fact that he's going for the undercut. And Brandon Hay into the pits here. I think Hay may have recognised the fact there's quite an open on circuit right now, and if he can bring himself out into that opening, then he might be able to make a lot of race time. But meanwhile, looking to Eric Rosev here with the number 1 Ferrari 296 right now, all over the back of the number 20 of Anders Meyer, and this is for the lead of the GT3 Pro class. Notice how they go, the sister Racing Lab Esports team drivers, both here thinking about that lead, but neither one deciding to go for it. And I think Rosev just tucking in behind there, saving some fuel once again, and he does seem to now have the pace in hand, because Eric Rosev is the fastest driver in the whole of the GT3 class. The only driver who's faster by comparison is Reece Saunders, who was faster on that previous lap by 4 attempts, albeit it should be pointed out that Reece Saunders right now 4.5 seconds behind this battle for the lead, so therefore he's closing, but he's not an immediate threat to it, and therefore I think Rosev just trying to maximise his time up behind his sister car, in the fact that he might just be able to do some fuel saving here and give himself more room and strategy to lead back in front and then run off with this race. As they make their way down through at the corner. Meanwhile, we look to Thomas Aspauk here battling with Ryan Moles, as meanwhile Ryan Davies has to just simply sitting behind. He's looking for a way through. They are going to make it 3 wide here, coming down into lane com. Aspauk comes across, Moles backs off there, and I think the overspeed, to be fair, of the Ferrari just giving Aspauk the edge before Moles had to consider whether he's going to battle for it or not. As they come through turn number 7 there, very close for all 3 drivers, but all safely making it on throw, and will Moles just not quite, it would seem, on the pace here today versus the other cars around him, and that Audi definitely, whilst it's got it all in the corners, just does not seem to have it here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit as they make their way on through X corner. Aspauk there having a little bit of oversteer as he collected the apex curb, and I think the car's slightly unsettled as they make their way down towards Vaughan corner once again. Coming off for a left-hander here, the Norwegian driver right now trying to make the gap open up, but this is where the Audi does have the strength. These medium speed sweepers and also these direction changes, it's just able to flow from side to side better than most. And as they make the way on through the Vantage Cam, we look back from the rear of the Ferrari 296 at Aspauk, and you see it exactly in motion here, but that Audi just able to stay glued to the back of the number 13 as they make the way through at turn number 14. And they head through Stablo 1 into Stablo 2 now. Moles going back a little bit more there, but Aspauk once again having to find a little bit of oversteer off of the curve of Stablo 2. You can see the car rocking slightly and having to steady out. It's those minute mistakes which do cost you quite a bit of time in the long haul. And as they make the way up towards Blanchimont, you can see Moles in the tow. He'll be gaining, but nowhere near enough. But it's snapped oversteer there for Moles. He's into the wall as the car becomes unsettled. I think losing a bit of the downforce in the car with the dirty air, plus also the fact the speeds they were going at were in the end the Audi coming loose, and that rear end will cost him very dear in the fact it's into the wall. And I wouldn't be surprised if Moles makes his way into the pit lane now. Pit entry just on his right hand side, and he does come on in there, so his scheduled stop will be forced early, but he will be able to come in and make up for the fact that he won't have to do 2 pit stops. It will still be 1 today. But as he makes his way on through, meanwhile we do look a little bit further up the order, and this is back to Rob Armstrong versus David Larson. And will these two, they've not left one another alone, as we look to the blimp camera here of them making their way down in towards Rivage corner. And well, I think it is going to be settled on strategy between these two as they have some GT3 traffic in front of them. That is Pratt, that is Joshua Pratt just in front right now, and Pratt, to be fair, just staying clear here and not really trying to become an actor in this battle, trying to own his own race. And behind them they do have what is the growing presence, I do believe, another GTP, that's Austin William Campbell, albeit a lap down. But Armstrong here having to go defensive into the Vantage chicane. You can see Larson looking around the outside as they make the way from right into left. Armstrong has to give Larson the space, but Larson not confident on the apex there to power on through. Austin William Campbell now trying to make his way on through. I think it's going to be a question of the Symphony Esports drivers potentially swapping the places, and can they potentially work some magic to get Austin William Campbell to unlap himself on Armstrong, and in the process give Larson even more of an opportunity. We'll have to see as they make the way towards Blanchimont corner. Of course, they have to be very tactical about it, because if it is found that Austin William Campbell, as a driver who's a lap down, is potentially impeding Armstrong, that will go to the stewards. But as they make the way up towards the bus stop chicane, they can try and work some niceties into this. But Armstrong right now holds the position. They run it nose to tail, the trio, as they make the way on for the chicane. Armstrong goes a little bit deep. Let's just go over an opportunity. There's contact. Larson Lawson taps the rear quarter panel of Armstrong as they make their way across the line, has to pull over to the side before that contact becomes more severe, and as they make their way into the braking zone, well, Lawson right now is going to try and go around the outside. Armstrong defends here as they power their way through. Meanwhile, look at Austin William Campbell, it's a reverse Moses manoeuvre here, and Civic Esports pull it off, but as they got it done, they have, and Lawson comes on through, and I think there it will be Armstrong who's wondering where he had to go in order to be safe, but they've got traffic over the hill, and that is for Galway as they come through, and now they're literally all going to be nose to tail as they come on down. Armstrong's got the speed, but look at Lawson, he's not giving up as they make their way towards the braking zone, but can he go to the inside there and make it freeway? No, he backs off, and in the end it will be Lawson who holds on, but Armstrong's so close, so tantalisingly close to making a counter-attack there, but it just was not to be, and Civic Esports have pulled off a brilliant piece of work, but now Lawson does get the better run, out of turn number 7, goes all in on the brakes, and Armstrong absolutely ferocious in terms of his battling. And I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, he may have been relatively silent in terms of the defence, but on the offence, this man right now is absolutely seeing red, and we love to see in the fact that Britain right now giving it everything here as he makes his way down through Broughton Corner and up towards the Fantasy Chicane, and this battle between these two, well, I'll tell you one thing, it's one of the battles of the season thus far, and if they're going for the Battle of the Season award, albeit I don't think we're actually doing one this season, but I think we'll definitely still talk about it as if we were. Well, right now, Armstrong absolutely enjoying that battle with Lawson. He's managed to put some traffic between the two of them, has come back on through for P4 in the GTP AM class, but do keep in mind we now have some pit stops underway in the GTP AM class, so therefore this may be P4 on track, but I think it's P5 when we put the strategy all together. But meanwhile, as they bring things back together, we do look from them up to Alex Hill, who has got Sam Sherwood trying to go around the outside of him. And Sherwood here, the GTP AM driver, well, I think the Sherwood here definitely showing what is a pro level of pace today as they make their way into the braking zone for Lakon, and around the outside of the hill was letting Sam Sherwood go, and I think the Englishman here just vexing the fact they're in different classes, there's no need to get involved, but meanwhile, there's a car installed on the exit of the bus stop chicane, and that's Eric Rosev from what was P2 at the time of the GT3 Pro class, spins the car around, yellow flags waving, everyone will take the race of action until Rosev gets up to speed, but that is a huge shock to the system for many, and well, I can't quite believe it, Rosev around to the corner, he drops down to what is P6, he'll be P5 for a moment, giving Reece Saunders into the pit lane, but that is a potential podium now completely squandered for the Norwegian driver as he brings himself back up to speed, and well, it is going to be all that recovery drive here from now to the end of the race. Remember, Rosev is yet to take his pit stop as well, so this could put him even further down the order depending on exactly where he comes out. As he makes his way over the rise there, not quite sure of what started it, but we've seen the consequences, and Rosev right now a long way down from where he expects to be. As he powers his way down the straight, we meanwhile look to Ryan Davies here, and Ryan Davies, he's got a bit of pressure building on him in the fact that he does have Aaron Beaver behind, and well, these two GTP drivers, the Pro ahead of the AM, Beaver looking to be the faster of the two of them right now as they make the way on through what is there, the X corner, and I think Davies just simply managing this race as best as he possibly can, as we do have a lot of our battles now starting to spread out to a degree, given at the influence of strategy, plus also the multi-class battle traffic, and we will see those battles potentially weave their way back together in the final 10 to 15 minutes of this race, but as they head on through what is turn number 13 and up towards turn number 14 into the braking zone they go. Well, right now Davies I think getting a bit of an advantage over Beaver. I think Beaver not having the best of the fantasy chicanes this time around, and that keeps Davies safe for now. And meanwhile, into the pit lane has come Ben Cullen, the effect simulations driver coming on in. Jonathan Hitchin, meanwhile, has come on through to retake people in the GTP Pro class, and Hitchin has already taken his pit stop for the day, so therefore we could be seeing Jonathan Hitchin starting to play a big factor towards the end of this race. I don't think he's going to have enough to take on what we call Busby, who absolutely is running away at the proceedings here, but the point being, it could Hitchin spring a surprise and perhaps leave his way to P3 or P2. We'll have to wait and see as the number 21 driver here making his way down the Kimmel Straight. Plenty of GT3 traffic for him to negotiate. He'll pick off one, he won't be able to pick off two by the time they get to the braking zone. He will have a bit of breathing room between himself and it's Darryl Norquette, who is 2.6 seconds behind and not able to really close up at this time. Then he makes his way off at turn number 7 and down towards turn number 8. And meanwhile, we look a little bit further down the order here. Oh, goodness me, we'll pause that thought for a moment. We had a car there off the road for a second. I'm trying to understand who that was. Not quite sure the car that was off on the grass down the inside of what was Lakon turn number 6, but meanwhile we look to Kerry Corcoran and Lawrence Marsh as they make their way around, and the downforce of racing drivers here of two different classes. running around together. Kokorin P15 and GT3 Pro. Meanwhile, Marsh P8 and GT3 Am. A difficult day for the team here as they head in towards what is turn number 10. And more for both of them here. Definitely, I think, one, it's all about damage limitation right now, given the fact that Marsh last time out, Fuji, was battling for the win, and today to be down in P8, how the tables have turned in the space of a week of racing. But still, that's the way it goes. There's going to be some rounds where you're strong, some rounds where you're not as strong, and it's about maximising your strengths and minimising your weaknesses, as we do see there Austin William Campbell having to take a very adventurous way around the outside of Marsh, coming out of Fanch's Part 2 as he heads into Stavlo 1 there. He'll clear now the other downforce racing car and make his way upwards as they head on through and up towards what will be the bus stop chicane very rapidly indeed. And we do look back to the battle of Armstrong and Larson, and neither one of them opted to come into the pits yet. They're both, I think, now saying, well, you going to the pits, no, you going to the pits. And well, I think they're also thinking about who is going to be the first one to flinch and where do they come out when one of them goes into the pits. They find the clear space as we ride on board here with the 306 car of Larson. Tucking on in behind, they do have Goriento, who is a lap down in the GTP Am class, and Larson literally reading our faults there. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Larson comes into the pit lane, and I think this might be the right call. If Larson can't get it done on circuit, he's got to get this done on strategy, because right now, if the two keep on fighting, it's a thrilling battle, we've got to say that. But I think it is going to be Armstrong who just has the extra 1 to 2% to make sure he maintains that pace. He just has a way of coming back sooner than anybody else. But meanwhile, speaking of battles coming back onto our screen, this is the battle for P6 in the GTP Pro class of Ben Cullen versus Ryan Davies. Now keep in mind, both of these drivers have pitted near identical pit stops between them in terms of overall time, but in fact, Cullen having what was the better pit stop in terms of time, but that means nothing right now when you have your rival right behind you, as Davies making his way on down here in the toe, but Cullen able to take a little bit more. And I'm noticing, I think that Acu's a little bit stronger on the brakes there in Telecom by comparison. I know Davies is in the toe, but it just looks like there Cullen's got a bit more confidence in terms of how late he can go versus Davies, and that may just be giving Cullen a bit of an advantage. And we have heard this Acu's very interesting car to drive. You do have to drive it on the edge by comparison with its peers, albeit all these GTP cars are very edgy, but the Acu's one of those cars whereby you really have to know where the limits are in order to get the most out of it, and Cullen doing exactly that, as we got Davies in the BMW M, a bit more of a traditional, a stable machine, which BMW are known for. And right now Davies fall in further back here as they make the way through Braun and up towards where's the Fanch's chicane for the 21st time of asking. In their instance, we are into lap number 22. Our leader, Paul Busby, already through Lake Com and on towards Rivage further around the lap as they make the way on towards the end of the lap here. Cullen right now taking a bit of a compromise line as he made his way out of Stablo 2 and onwards towards the Blanchimont left-hander very shortly, and he does have quite the field of traffic in front of him, albeit I think he'll feel as though he's going to be coming up to it gradually, albeit he'll be coming to Mark Johnson sooner than he would like, but he'll have the run there, as we do see a runner wide from Matt Edmondson, but he brings the car back together just in time. You can see how Ryan Davies now closing up as he makes sure to go up the inside of Johnson into the chicane as they make the way out of the corner now. Or Davies here just trying to find his way back onto that battle with what is Cullen as he makes his way up the inside, but from them we then do look to the man who right now really trying to recover his way into this race. He has made a pit stop, it should be pointed out, and this is Steinar Sani for Racing Lab Esports Car X. And in fact, since the pit stops, he has made his one pit stop. He is now P3 in the class behind Nicholas Rice. So again, the strategy actually seeing that Sani move back further up the order there, and as he makes his way on the charge here, now trying to take on Rice, and will Rice having to worry about the fact that BMW coming on stronger and stronger here as he inches closer and closer, and as they head into the braking zone, I think Stanley's just going to make his way on through. Rice not really able to mount too much of a defense. Stanley getting alongside well before the braking zone, and well, I think Rice here focusing on what is that P3 in the GT3 Am class, albeit right now we can see there a whole medley of GTPs making their way out the inside. I think Rice is going to be looking in his right hand mirror and thinking, when do you all stop and when do you start again? And we're right now, the GTP just continue to come on through here. It's like buses, when you're waiting for one and it doesn't come, and then when you're not expecting one, three come at the same time. And as they make the way out of turn number 9, I should say, in towards turn number 10, well, right now Nicholas Rice finding very quickly the GTPs are gone in the flash, and he's back on the rear of Steinar Sani before he realises it. In fact, the gap between the two of them only growing to 4 attempts as a result of that traffic moment. But meanwhile, we do look from them to Mark Johnson, who's on the back of sister team driver for UK Sim Racing Hill of what is Matt Edmondson. This is the UK Sim Racing Mansell Porsche driver who we're focusing on, and right now I think these two are battling for position, and I think Edmondson may just be struggling a little bit here in this late stage of the race. They have pitted, it should be pointed out, with Johnson having a much longer pit stop by comparison. I think some repair work having to be done to the car, as well as also some extra tyres being changed, and that tyre advantage is being felt here as we jump aboard with the Porsche 992 driver. Now he makes his way out of turn at number 15 and onwards towards Blanchimont corner with the Ferrari will have the straight line speed. You can see Edmondson there trying to straight line every bit of this run, even cutting little bits of the grass here. I think Edmondson's worried about Johnson's pace. If Johnson's able to stay within 2 tenths, making his way up towards the braking zones, the heaviest of braking zones, he will be able to go for the movement. You notice that Johnson had to lift off due to the amount of speed that Cameron comes in absolutely scorching hot into the braking zone, and has to lift off the brakes and not turning to avoid making contact with the rear of Edmondson's car. But the point being, Johnson has got so much confidence in this car right now, and I get the feeling he has changed more tyres in the pit lane. That would explain why his pit stop time was 8 seconds longer compared to Edmondson. And as they make the way through the right-hander here, well, Johnson just needs to find that one opportunity to make his advantage count. He can't quite do it at the moment, but meanwhile, looking to the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen, this is your race leader overall in GTP and GTP Pro, coming on in with a 20-second advantage, and well, it's a statement in itself after that pole lap, which put him right up there. And Busby right now making his way on down and parking up. Sight Anti's just come on in as well. And Alex Hill, the third place driver at the moment, a bit of a lonely third place. We's yet to pit, but he does have the question of Jonathan Hitchin, who is what is the best part of 18 seconds behind. And I think Hitchin may lead back into P3. This could be a P4 today for Alex Hill, given the relative gaps and the pit time loss. Might just wait and see it as Busby leaving the pit lane. And well, Hill goes on to another lap, and as he makes way down, Busby's already left the pit lane, and that shows you how far ahead of the field Busby is. You see him there off in the distance as a spec in the camera shot, and as they make the way on through, Alex Hill's P2 for now. T-Sin's drive putting in another very well-managed drive, but just nothing today compared to Busby, who just seems to be in a world of his own. As we do see the T-Sin's corporate machine pushing its way onwards here, and we'll be ready for its pit stop at some point. We've also got pit stop season playing out here in the GTP AM class. This is Darren Norquette coming on down for what will be his one and only pit stop today. Sam Sherwood's already made his pit stop, and will Norquette waiting now for the engineering work to go ahead. John Dover comes into the pit. Brandon Hay, who has pitted meanwhile, where is he? He's making his way out of Blanchimont corner, so Brandon Hay could actually be quite close here for a battle for the podium for Newbridge Esports as he makes his way in to the bus stop chicane. 12 minutes still left on the clock plus the final lap. Norquette leaving his pit box now. We do look to the blimp camera here, and can we get a good view of how this is going to play out? Not really. It is obscured by the run into the corner, but as Hay makes his way into the corner there, we'll see the pit lane exit, and that coming out of the pits, I do believe is Austin William Campbell, but John Doble has left the pits. There's John Doble behind, and that is how much Brandon Hay and John Doble were separated by in the end. It's only 3 seconds, if that, and will Brandon Hay, with the much earlier pit stop, gets back ahead of John Doble, but Doble does have Hay in his sights as they make the way on to what is for them at lap number 24 here, and as they charge their way on around, well, now Doble's got the hard task of hunting down the Newbridge Esports Acura in the Cadillac as he makes his way onwards towards turn number 5. As he charges his way on down. Meanwhile, from them, we do have a growing battle in the GTP Pro class between Ryan Davies and Ben Cullen, with Cullen recently falling in behind Davies as a result of all the strategy, and as he makes his way into the braking zone here. What is turn number 10 going on down through the pull-on curve and upwards towards Bandit Chicane they go. With Davies and Cullen, P6, their battle in the class. They've got a whole host of cars in front of them of the pace, it would seem. And well, the GT3 there of Peter Cox trying to stay well out of the way on the inside for the second part of the chicane. Now they do have Joshua Pratt just in front there. And as they make their way through the right hand, well, it does seem as though Davies here will have a compromised line through Stavlo too, but thankfully for him, Cullen also being compromised. Alex Hill in the pit lane, we should point out, ladies and gentlemen, that's happening off camera. And as they make the way on towards Blanchimont here, no real game for Cullen. Davies does seem to be a bit more comfortable, and that BMW has a little bit more speed, it would seem, on the straightaway here compared to the Acura. The Acura seems to be the corner machine by comparison as they make it into that braking zone. Coming on through it, and we'll still having to thread the needle between all the GT3 trains. Davies in the end finds some of the GT3 sandwich. Always Constable and Aspal, but he clears it just about as Always Constable and Aspal getting ready to battle one another as well. So we'll keep our eyes on that in the rear of the picture, and in fact we do focus on it for now as we see the Britain for UK Sim Racing Mansell trying to hold off the racing lab esports machine as the Norwegian driver gives hop the suit as they head on towards Blue Rouge and Radion this time around for what is the GT3 classes 22nd time of asking. Well, 3 laps the difference between the two classes at the moment. We'll make it one more over before this race is said and done. But the point being here that Constable right now not in a comfortable position, and I think try and take every advantage he can, every little sniff of slipstream off of GP that passed him by, because that's how he's getting close. And well, could he look for the move here into the braking zone? He may do, but not quite. Meanwhile, further back, that is going to be Joshua Pratt defending versus Peter Cox. They head onto the brakes. Cox trying to go around the outside, but Pratt does get his elbows out there and says to Cox, no, I've seen many do this. I'm not letting you have it that easy. And make sure that Peter Cox has to go a little bit deeper than he would like. And well, Pratt there pushing it to what is the minimum width required for Peter Cox. He knows the rules, and as they make the way down towards Raj Corner, gives the door open. Cox away with the back of him, but there you can see the difference between the two machines. The Ferrari not as strong in the corners or the brakes compared to the Porsche, but as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the Britain for Tiki Simsport, Pratt right now doing everything right to hold on Peter Cox, and Cox really having to throw everything at this if he wants to gain that P9 in the GT3 Pro class before all is said and done here today. As they make the way out of the corner, Pratt goes a bit wide, but to be fair, carries all the speed around the circumference of the corner. And meanwhile, Cox just not close enough really to try and build up any more. And that's the thing with this Porsche, in the fact for all the speed it carries from corner to corner, but if it goes on to an extended straight and you haven't carried the successful amount of speed from a given corner, then you lose out. It really becomes a multiplicative incident in terms of how much speed you lose out compared to the other cars, and that's why the Porsche is arguably one of the most difficult cars to master in the GT3 class, because of the fact it really is a rhythm-based racing, that Porsche car. And as they make the way up towards the Blanchimont corner, we can see here Cox closing very gradually, little by little, as they make the way into left-hand at 2.5 tenths now. As he exits the corner there, not carrying the speed of the Blanchimont and having to wait. As meanwhile, we're seeing there what is a potential retirement for Aaron Vergalway, and well, if so, that is a surprise, not good one to be sure. But meanwhile, also surprised in the fact that Pratt's had a poor run coming out of the bus stop chicane. He's made a ham sandwich of the pair of corners, and as they go on to another lap, that's going to be Cox around the outside on the right of your picture. Contact between the two of them here as Pratt tries to get his elbows out once again, but Peter Cox this time says, no, you tried that on me and Lecom, I let it work. This time it's not going to work, I'm going to hold the outside. But now Pratt can try and come back in as they make the way up the hill. If he can carry the speed, we ride on board now with the man who's gone from being the hunted to the hunter. And as they come through turns 2, 3 and 4 and over the rise, well, the gap is 3.5 tenths here, but you'll see this Ferrari with 6-cylinder engine that starts to close on the German flat 6 in front as he tucks into the toe, albeit not quite enough speed at the moment. As we briefly lose Pratt, we now regain him on pitch there, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of latency issue, and I think continue those latency issues there between the two of them, but in the end Pratt not quite close enough to make the move count, and Peter Cox does successfully pull off the overtake for what is a P8 in the GT3 Pro class, with the unexpected retirement of Aaron Vergalway. And well, I believe it was for a disconnect right towards the end of the race. In fact, he does confirm that there in the Twitch chat. Really do appreciate that, Aaron, and sorry to see that happen. It's not the way we want it to go, but it's the equivalent in the real world motorsport of an engine failure. But meanwhile, somebody who's got engines ablazing here is Nicholas Rice. He's coming back at Steiner Sunny. Well, Sunny absolutely blitzed past him earlier coming into this corner, and Rice now does the same going into Lacon. But is this going to be a to you exchange, in the fact behind them they have the P10 and P11 GT3 Pro drives of Darren Sharples and Marvin Cruz having their own little battle. But right now this is a second place in the GT3 AM class. You'd love to see it. Mark Collicott, meanwhile, it should be pointed out, is 16 seconds clear of this. He's leapt his way on through, and well, Collicott absolutely off into the distance. And as they make the way on down through what is their at the X corner in towards Pillon. Well, right now Nicholas Rice really coming back late in this race and enjoying the race, there's no doubt about it, as he makes his way on around here and up towards the Fangio chicane. This time he's not going to have many more iterations of it, and I think he'll be thankful for the fact that time is running out on this race. But of course, the one thing as a driver you don't do towards the end of the race is begin to clock watch, because when you do, that's when the mistakes start to creep in. And it's such an intense battle here, and for Rice this will be his best result of the season if he finishes where he currently is. This could be a game changer going into the mid-season break. but as they make the way on through Stablo 2, well, right now Rice has still got work to do, and meanwhile the same could be said for Reece Saunders as he makes his way into his late com, as the GT3 Pro second place driver has none other than the man you don't want behind you, and we look at him square on here. It is none other than Hekon Gestad as they make their way on through turn number 7 and down towards 8, and right now Gestad close 3.5 tenths is the gap as they make their way on through Revenge Corner. And the Ignium Motorsport machine looking absolutely menacing as they make the way out the gears. Through X they go. 3 attempts is the gap here, the battle of the two Ferraris, and it's who's master the car and got it set up right now. Who is going to be coming out on top in this battle? Anders Myra is 6.3 seconds up the road. He's in the clear to win this race barring any unexpected circumstances, but the battle for P2 is very much well and truly alive as they make their way in towards the Fanta chicane. They make the way through right into left here. Both drivers right now really trying to push on and get a mistake out of the other driver. And really for Gestad, that is going to be where this move may come about. When you're in equal machinery, it comes down to you as the drivers getting it absolutely pinpoint precise lap after lap, and it is effectively an unstoppable force meets an immovable object here, with the force being Gestad, the object being Saunders, but which one of the two is going to prevail as Goriento makes his way past the pair of them there at high speed. And as they head up towards Blanchimont Corner right now, where it looks like Saunders able to manage this gap just about, holding it at 3 to 4 attempts currently, but still at least another 2 laps to go between them. As meanwhile, speaking of Anders Myra, well, we do very shortly take a look to the GT3 Pro leader. In fact, we're going to stay with the battle between Saunders and Gestad to La Source Corda for the simple reason it's actually looking quite close between them, but pulls that fault, ladies and gentlemen, because meanwhile just behind them, well, that is David Larson, who did get ahead briefly, but I think he may have had a track limit infringement as part of the pass, so he's given the place back to Rob Armstrong with a slowdown penalty as well. So Armstrong's still holding on to P5 in the GTP AM class, despite the intentions of Larson, and with this brilliant battle not ending at any point in time between the two, it must be said, as they charge on here. But Armstrong still getting the better of the two of them as they make the way on around, and well, is there any way for Larson to find his way on through it? That is the big question. But meanwhile, looking back up the road, Gestad here very close, and that's why we didn't want to step away from this. He throws the dummy, but he can't quite do it. He tries to go for it. It's a good attempt there from Hekon Gestad, but he can't quite make that dummy work as he switched the inside, then back to the outside. Not enough room on the road to get it done, but Gestad right now definitely trying to throw every trick in the very overtaking book, as there's a lock up there for Armstrong, who manages to avoid hitting the rear of what is Saunders' car. And as they make the way into X corner, I think Saunders right now is going to be thinking, how on earth did he not hit me? I'm not going to know, but right now he's got to suspend that for flashing lights there for Saunders, and I'm not quite sure what that's for, but I can tell you, if it's an SOS signal, it's for the pressure that Gestad's putting over the back of him, and you can understand why, because we right on board here with the Norwegian driver. Smoke up in front, that is smoke from Salvatore Goriento, who's got it very wrong, I do believe, but now recovered on the road, just up the road from them. I think it's gone wrong coming out of Bouillon Corner. Well, right now Gestad's so close each and every corner, literally trying to find that move, as well. David Larson just waiting behind, being incredibly patient, it must be said, for the P6 GTP AM driver, and that means the gap between him and what is Rob Armstrong is going to open up tremendously. It's going to open up to the best part of 6 seconds with the patience that Larson has shown, but I think they're conscious of the fact that he'd rather do things the right way than make a mistake, as Larson almost did, only at moments, well, not Larson, I should say, Armstrong almost did, only moments to go, and we get the two names mixed up there for a brief moment, as they make the way through it. Gestad this time 2 attempts is the gap as he heads down to the Mustang chicane, and again it just cannot find a way through, and it's the first time we've really seen these two battle on circuit and full force, as they make, oh goodness me, a contact there between Gestad and what was Saunders, and Saunders going on around, and well, it looked as though there Saunders having a poor run out the corner as the white flag waves, and Paul Busby, it goes on to one final lap with a minute to go, but the point being there, I think Saunders being turned by the front end of Gestad's car based on the camera angle we had, and with what was Saunders having a poor run out of the corner and Gestad being too close to the throttle, it was bound to happen in the end. But as Busby makes his way onto this final lap, he will turn 30 laps today, and with a 22-second advantage over Cy Anthony right now, Busby doesn't need to push this lap, but he'll give it everything here to end it. on perfection. He holds the fastest lap right now. He's taken pole position. He's led every lap of this race. He is going for the Busby Grand Slam here. He'll be the first driver in this series to do it. Indeed, this series only has a very short history being the first season, but he'll be the first one to put his name into the record books. And the 420 driver absolutely on fire right now as he makes his way down towards the large corner. But as he does so, where are the other battles currently? Well, Matt Edwardson still trying to find his way past John Watt for P31 overall, but it's a difference of 2 class drivers here between the Roxy Machine and the UK Sim Racing Hill Ferrari as they make their way in towards the bus stop chicane. But otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I think all of our battles now have subsided, and as they draw their way onto their final laps, our drivers now will know that with only a lap to go, the mistake threshold becomes ever so low. It's so easy to make a mistake in the closing stages of the race. Indeed, just one little error could spoil what could be a great result, or indeed for another driver, it could turn a difficult day into a great day right at the end through surprise, but a welcome one to be sure. But as we see Edmondson here falling a bit further back, he does have behind John Davies, but meanwhile Davies, I think, too far back to really look for the move. So instead, ladies and gentlemen, we do look in return back now to what is your overall leader here, and the Effect Simulations driver on course to make it an emphatic win. There's no doubt about it. And just in front of him is the GT3 Pro leader as well, Anders Meyer. Will Murray get to do one more lap once Busby comes out of the final corner? The checker flag waves, and it's Effect Simulations Paul Busby who takes the win here today over in the GTP Pro class by a staggering 23 seconds. The man has been absolutely on fire, and nobody has been able to hold a candle to him. Anders Meyer has gone to one more lap, ladies and gentlemen, so that will transpire very gradually. But here comes your P2 man in GTP Pro class. It's been an absolutely solid drive today from him. Give a round of applause to Cy Anthony for the run-up spotted class, and then it will be a little bit further back, Jonathan Hitchin, who rounds off the GTP Pro podium in P3. We have had Hekon Gestad come through P2 in the GTP Pro class ahead of Harold Stratatus, Maurice Saunders P4 and Eric Rose P5, but we do have some more cars coming on through very shortly. Sam Sherwood there to take another dominant win in the GTP AM class there for Protect Motorsport, 36.5 seconds clear of his rivals, and then making his way through the final couple of corners right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the number 5 Porsche 992 to take the GT3 AM win. It's Mark Collicott who wins for our Race Series DCW Racing in a brilliant performance today, and really in a world of his own, 17 seconds clear of his rivals. But meanwhile, speaking of his rivals, Nicholas Rice has got the pressure on Stein Arsani, but the Dirty Rice Racing driver from the United States of America is going to be your GT3 and runner-up in the end. He holds on to take the position ahead of Stein Arsani, who rounds on the GT3 and podium. And as he crosses the line there, meanwhile, we do have a third place finish in the GTP AM class for Brandon Hay for Newbridge Esports. Unfortunately, we didn't quite catch Darryl Norquette crossing the line, but he has crossed the line now and taken the P2 in the GTP AM class, it must be said. And meanwhile, more drives still to come on through as Mark Johnson takes P4 in GT3 AM, Matt Anderson GT3 and P5 ahead of John Davies, Davies I should say, and then we see Rob Armstrong in the end finishes P5 in the GTP AM class behind John Doble, but keeps at bay David Larson in the end. There is the man of which we refer to, David Larson, as he crosses the line, and well, I believe we do lose Larson immediately, but meanwhile we've still got one more race winner to come, ladies and gentlemen, as he makes his way to the line. Here he comes. It's the Racing Lab Esports Motor Car, the 20, that was made to do one extra lap. I think he'll be grateful because he gets all the camera time right now. And give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for the Norwegian of Anders Meyer as he takes the win in the GT3 Pro class by only 7 seconds over Hekon Gestad. But in the end, it was fine margins today, and Meyer knows exactly how to manage those fine margins, with the BMW M4 leading the way ahead of a field of Ferraris and Porsches. And sometimes it's the old 2022 GT3 that has the ability to take the wins, and doing exactly that. And what a drive there for the number 20 driver as he makes his way on down the second start for this straight here and savours the moment. But what a race from all the drives from start to finish. Indeed, a phenomenal race here at the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. We had drama in the opening laps, we had battles aplenty, we had moments on strategy as well, we had unexpected incidents also galore, we've had everything and the Spa circuit could deliver. And I think we may also have a bit of camaraderie going on as Alexander Truman-Mikkelsen is pushing on there. What is the car? I believe that's the number 13 of what is, unless I'm very much mistaken, just trying to get a bead on the car in particular, but the number 13 car there that is struggling. I think it's run out of fuel, and that is Thomas Asphaug, who has finished this race, but I think just being given a nudge on there for Race Lab Esports Car X, but he will get to the pit lane. In fact, they're all pushing one another along here are the Race Lab Esports guys. They've literally loaded just not enough fuel in the cars, and they've got to try and get it to the end. But as they try to make their way on home, and all they're taking over the camera, there's no doubt about it in terms of the fact all together on the road. We do have a little car there also tucking in behind, and I think that may be, unless I'm very much mistaken, David Lawson, alternatively that's Rob Armstrong. That's Rob Armstrong, in fact, who decides to also get on the mix there. And well, they're all pushing each other to the pit lane. Great sportsmanship from the all. But we are now going to take you through the racing results, through the scenic view. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, and here are the results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after 60 minutes of racing in round 3 of the UK Sim Racing GT3-GTP Multiclass League Season 1, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform known as iRacing, Paul Busby taking the overall win in GTP class and in the GTP Pro class as well for effect simulations by 22.5 seconds over the privateer of Cy Anthony. Second place overall, and to be fair, no mean feat for the 27 driver, and once again Cy Anthony showing that sometimes you don't need to be Mr. Spectacular in order to be on the podium, you just need to manage the race, and he's absolutely brilliant at doing that, and that's why he's in P2. Jovanic in at P3 there for Symphony Esports, and in a good race day, and close to catching Cy Anthony at the end, and on at the podium there, the number 21 driver will be going for P2 as a minimum. Next time out, you can be assured of that, and then it's a grand total of what is 4 seconds there to Sam Sherwood, your GTP AM, I should say, winner in P4 overall there for ProTech Motorsport, and what a drive for the 171 driver, definitely putting in some phenomenal performances. That's now 2 wins back-to-back. He becomes the first repeat winner of any class this season, Sam Sherwood, and he's earned it the hard way. Alex Hill, P5 for TT Simsport Corporate, just behind there by what's 3 tenths at line, head of Alexander Truman-Mikkelsen for Race Lab Esports Moser, and then Ryan Davies P7 for TT Simsport ahead of Ben Cullen for Effect Simulations. A difficult day today for Ben Cullen, in fact making great progress early on, but then it didn't quite work out with regards to strategy and having to fight in the end for what was the bottom end of the top 10. Darren Norquette, runner-up in the GTP AM class, the Racing at Forces driver, doing another stellar job, holding onto that P2 ahead of Brandon Hay, the Newbridge Esports driver, rounding off the overall top 10, and also taking that 3rd spot on the GTP AM podium, which consists of Sherwood, Norquette and Hay. Bester SP11, John Double for TQ Sport Corpa, but we'll focus more on the specific class finishing positions in detail shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's carry on going through the overall positions and now focus our attention on the GT3 class. And as we can see, Andres Mara there, P18 overall, your overall GT3 winner and GT3 Pro winner as well for Race Lab Esports Moser, ahead of Heckengrestad. In fact, the only GT3 out of all of them to do a 27th lap. All the others 26 laps or less, but Anders Meyer creeping across the line to do one more lap, and that's going to feel extra special for the number 20 driver. That's always a great accolade when you're the sole driver of your class to do the extra lap in a multi-class race. Behind him then, Ignium Motorsports Heckengrestad P2, after a bit of a contentious battle between him and Rhys Saunders, but I'm sure they'll make up after the race today over that one. And then Heroldus Jotatus P3 there to complete the overall G3 podium and that of the pros as well for Over Limit Race. And what a drive from Joe Tartas, albeit I think he'll be gutted, and indeed we're all gutted at the fact that we saw Aaron Vergawe have that late disconnection and retirement from the race, as we got to see so much battle between the two Porsche drivers, but plenty more of that to come in the season as it goes on, I reckon. Then it was Rhys Saunders, P4 in the G3 class team year 1 after that late spin with Eric Rosev completing the top 5 there for Racing Lab Esports KTM. And there's Thomas Asphaug, Chris Constable, Peter Cox and Joshua Pratt who completed the top 9 of the GT3 class overall, and then completing the top 10 of the GT3s, Mark Collicott, who was also for our Race Series DCW Racing, your GT3 AM winner, ahead of Nicholas Rice, P28 there for Dirty Rice Racing, the runner-up in the GT3 AM class, ahead of Steinar Sani in a fantastic battle between the two of them for the Racing Lab Esports Car Extra, just not quite enough today, and indeed that early mistake from Steinar Sani cost him what looked to be a certain win in the early stage of the race. So that completed the GT3 AM podium of Collicott, Rice and Sani, and then coming on to our retirees from this race now. we can see in terms of retirees, well, in the end, we did have the retirements of, unless I'm very much mistaken, they all started with Aaron Vagawe, with that disconnection for sure. Competition Esports P40 overall, albeit he'll be classified as a race finisher. Chris Kirtland there and Lawrence Marsh as well for Downforce Racing, both finishing 10 laps down, but I believe they actually did get to the checkered flag, unless I'm very much mistaken. And then it was Billy Bob Ray finishing 11 laps down for Empire Motorsport. Adrian Kukulis there in P44, James Conway P45, and then finishing well down on laps and classified as a non-finisher, given the fact they did not complete over half the race distance. Well, they did include Joshua Wilson there for Effect Simulations for those technical issues, rearing that ugly head once again. Very unfortunate for the Effect Simulations driver. We also saw there Casper Brotner, Joe Newman, Matt Strand, Oyvind Breivik, Daniel Pays, BJ Alvarez, and David Rulliston. So out of 53 starters, we had a grand total of what was, I believe it was 41 finishers there, albeit some drivers finishing behind drivers who had retirements effectively, but still a great finishing rate for this race, and what a race it was. We'll then come on to the individual classes then. And as we can see in the GTP Pro class, firstly, Paul Busby taking the win for Effect Simulations by 22.5 seconds in the end over Cy Anthony and the privateer there. Not quite in the same league as Busby, but still at P2, but nothing can be taken away. It's been some time since we've seen Busby take a win in a UK Sim Racing League event, but what a way to do it, with a Grand Slam leading every lap of the race, the fastest lap, and also the pole lap, which many are going to remember. The 420 driver here, definitely a Spa specialist, and can he carry on that specialism throughout the remainder of the season? We would definitely love to see that. So Anthony at P2 then, ahead of Jonathan Hitchin at P3 for Symphony Esports. That's your podium, ahead of Alex Hill for TT Sim Sport Corpa, and then racing up Esport Moses, Alexander Truno McAlson, a great P5 finish there in the number 6. And then at 1 second to Ryan Davis at TT Sim Sport, ahead of Ben Cullen, with Austin William Campbell, Joshua G. Wilson, and Joe Newman completing the top 10, albeit we must point out Austin William Campbell classified as a lap down, and classified as non-finishers will be Joshua Wilson and Joe Newman, and the same will be for Matt Strand there for Racing Lab Esports Car X. We then come on to the GTP AM class. And as we can see here, Sam Sherwood taking the win in the end by 36.5 seconds. And I can see a number of you there saying hashtag promote Sherwood in the Twitch chat. Well, do keep in mind the classes can be subject to potential revisions, albeit I'm not sure what's going to happen in the mid-season break. Not promising anything or anything on those lines, ladies and gentlemen. But if there is going to be a class rearrangement, it will be looked at by the admins. You can trust on them. But Sherwood, in the meantime, let's enjoy it whilst we do get to see him dominate in the GTP AM class. And what a drive once again from the ProTech Motorsport driver. Unlike Fuji, not quite having a spin that put him all the way towards the back of the field, but definitely a difficult start, but quickly making a critical recovery. Then behind him, Darren Norket for Racing Forces, who was 11 seconds clear of Brandon Hay for Newbridge Esports, and then just off of the podium, John Doble for Tiki Sim Sport Copper, who just missed out versus Brandon Hay. Strategy not working the way of Doble today. Rob Armstrong completes the top 5 there for UK Sim Racing Bell in that brilliant battle between him and David Larson for Symphony Esports, and then Aaron Beaver, Richard Jones were completing the race on the lead lap down to P8. They were the slow and steady race driver having that spin at turn number 1, and that cost him very dear and what could have been a potential podium today, but still he'll learn from that. Salvatore Goriento on his debut for Muriel.io, a great start to the race. However, the contact on lap 2 of Billy Bob Ray seeing his race end in tatters after what was only 2 laps, albeit carried on and finished a lap down in, and will take points for P9. And we did see Billy Bob Ray finish 11 laps down. He will be classified as a finish for Empire Motorsport, and again that contact between the two drivers, and I think they did sort it out after the race, and all has been cleared between them. Darren Runiston, best of SP11 then for Tiger Racing Team, albeit an unfortunate retirement a lap into the race, and that means he'll be classified as a non-finisher. Then coming on to the GT3 Pro class. And as we can see here, looking a bit up, and indeed we are missing currently our number 1 driver, but we will get them, and there they are. Anders Meyer for Racing Lab Esports Moser taking the win, and the sole driver to do the extra lap. So that's why everybody is listed as a lap down. But what it does mean is we can't tell you the gaps between the drivers further on down there, and well, Anders Meyer definitely knocking the statistics out the park there, ahead of Hekon Gristad for Ignium Motorsport, and Harold Stratatas round off the podium there for Over Limit Racing. Team U1's Reece Saunders just ahead of Eric Rosev for Racing Lab Esports KTM, with Thomas Aspal, Chris Constable, Peter Conks, Joshua Pratt and John Watt completing your top 10. And an absolutely packed GT3 Pro class today, it must be said. And then best of SP11 at Marvin Cruz there for Old Dudes in Cars, head of Darren Sharp, with Kerry F. Corcoran having a difficult race, P13 for Downforce Racing. And then finishing 3 laps down, Ryan Moles for ProTech Motorsport, the Audi R8 just not having enough today. And after that nasty shunt into the wall coming out of the Blanchimont corner, his race really was languishing towards the back of the field, unfortunately. Aaron Vagawe with that disconnection will be a non-finisher, albeit he'll be classified as a finisher as he did complete over half the race distance, finishing 6 laps down, P15. And Chris Kirkland the same there, P16, albeit 7 laps down. Adrian Kukulis will just creep across the line in terms of being a finisher at P17, 9 laps down for short competition esports. And then we do have the sole retirees here of what is Casper Brotner and Daniel Pace, so old dudes in cars. The team having a difficult day at the office, and with that they'll both be classified as non-finishers, given the fact they did not complete over half the race distance. But now we come to the GT3 AM class, and here we can see, last but not least in terms of classes, Mark Collicott taking the win for AI Racing Race DCW Racing by 17.3 seconds over Dirty Rice Racing Nicholas Rice. And Rice in the end not quite at the pace of Collicott, who really was in a field of his own, say a field of one if you will, but Nicholas Rice in return getting one up on Steinar Sani, the Racing Lab Esports Car X driver, after that hit with the wall early on in the race, losing out on a potential win, and in the end having to settle for the 3rd spot on the podium. Mark Johnson P4 for UK Sim Racing Mansell. The switch to the Porsche 992 continues to be an evolution, and he's learning as he goes. And indeed, a great P4 there ahead of Matt Edmondson, the UK Sim Racing Hill driver. Another top 5, but definitely was not quite on the pace today compared to some of his rivals, and therefore really having to invest in strategy, which gave him the opportunity to turn that P5 around. And John Davies P6 for the Ron stuff, ahead of Simon Hartley, Thomas Barger, Lawrence Marsh, and James Conley. Albeit it should be pointed out that Thomas Barger was the last lead lap finisher of the GT3 AM class, with Marsh and Conley both finishing multiple laps down, 6 in the case of Marsh, 9 in the place of Conley, and indeed both drivers there being classified as finishers as they did complete over half the race distance. Meanwhile, did not complete over half the race distance and we classified as non-finishers, or even Brett for Racing Lab Esports KTM and Team Sim Racing Chicago's BJ Alvarez. So that concludes our run through of all the standings, ladies and gentlemen. And just as we get ready to conduct our post-round interviews with our drivers, indeed, whilst we may be back in time by the best part of almost a week, we are still going to see if any drivers would like to conduct an interview. We'd just like to take a moment to say that if you have been enjoying the racing tonight, and if you've ever wondered how you can support UK Sim Racing, well, firstly, the best thing you can do is subscribe to the Twitch channel, or at least follow us on Twitch. We'd really appreciate that. But if you want to go one step further, did you know there's a quick way to support UK Sim Racing via our affiliates? For UK Sim Racing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies, which do include Sim Race Academy, Demon Tweaks, and Amazon. And if you do head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, and that website will appear on screen as of now. There it is. Well, you can see in the top right corner there's a link to our official Discord. Now, why would you want to join the UK Sim Racing Discord? Well, there's 3 reasons. Firstly, we're a very friendly community. We're a welcoming community. Everybody is welcome, from esports professional all the way down to rookie racer. Secondly, in the fact that if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our series, such as what you've seen today, you need to be on our UK Sim Racing Discord, as otherwise you won't be able to hear the safety briefings and you won't be eligible to go racing. It's a mandatory requirement. But thirdly, and more importantly with regards to today, and very beneficial for you as a consumer in the world of sim racing or real world motorsport, is the fact that a good number of our affiliates provide discount codes which are only available on the official UK Sim Racing Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, you'll be in pole position to receive a discount on your purchase, so it's a win for you, but it's also a win for the wider UK sim racing community, for the simple reason that we are a non-profit organisation, and every penny we make from discount purchases on our affiliates, well, every penny will go back to funding future series at UK Sim Racing, including future renditions of the GT3-GTP Multiclass League. If you'd like to see another season after this one, I think already many of you might be saying, yes, 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 please, and also the Porsche Cup, and plenty more we've got planned for the remainder of 2023 and onwards into 2024 as UK Sim Racing goes from strength to strength. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UK Sim Racing, and what can go quite a way right now into saving my vocal cords is that we do take a break for approximately 10 minutes as we get ready for our post-round interviews. They're coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss them. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And today we're only going to be hearing from one of our drivers, and quite understandable given it's a Friday evening, and many of them will be looking to relax and whatnot, particularly given the fact they've got a break from the racing this weekend, and many will have already been preparing for the Petit Le Mans official iRacing event, which does get underway with its first slot at 10 o'clock British Summer Time this evening. So you can completely understand why our drivers may not be readily available, but we still will have the wonderful Matt Edmondson, who's going to be joining us shortly from UK Sim Racing Hill, and we'll get to hear his story today of what was a race that started in P5 and ended in P5 in the GT3 AM class, albeit we also got to see the fact that as time went on in the race, building up quite a bit of momentum, only to then lose it as the race went on versus his rivals, and we'll get to hear his perspective on the fact the pace never quite seemed to be there compared to what we got to see over, say, previous rounds. But still, there's plenty of story to be told, and let's have the man himself bring it to us as he now joins me in the interview room. Good evening to you, Matt. It's good to have you join me once again. And what a time you had at Spa-Francorchamps. P5 on the qualifying grid and P5 come the end of the race. Looked as though it was a relatively static race for yourself, albeit you had plenty of battles along the way.
Race. There was quite a bit going on that wasn't properly caught on the camera, but did have some quite good battles along with a lot of the guys in the grid. So it was an enjoyable race overall, and it could have ended a lot worse in terms of the result. So I'll happily take that.
Oh, indeed. Being happy with the P5, and you have been one of those drivers this season that's been very consistent over the first 3 rounds. In fact, all 3 of your finishes, top 5 finishes, including a win in the season opener, of course. But it looked as though at Spa, this round, the pace wasn't quite there compared to perhaps the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, I'd never really had the pace that week. I struggled to find a setup that kind of worked, and I ended up with a low downforce setup, which was brilliant along the straights, but I realised a bit too late that it just wasn't going to be very helpful for me in the corners, so I was a little bit playing on the defensive side through most of the lap. So it did all right, but I know, like, really I should have been able to try and squeeze a bit more out of a more medium downforce setup.
Well, still, may not have been the right setup for the job, but it's not necessarily about the setup itself. As they say, a handyman can only blame his tools, and you made the most of your tools in the Ferrari 296. Speaking of which, in qualifying, we saw you take P5 on the grid by a margin of what was, in the end, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, a gap of, as we just get our data back together, and I believe the gap to the pole driver Steiner Sani in the end was 1.2 seconds, albeit you were only half a tenth ahead of Lawrence Marsh, who qualified at P6 alongside you on the grid, so it was quite close in qualifying.
Steiner was very quick. Like he should have really been up winning today, but he had an unfortunate incident top of the hill. But yeah, the good thing sort of seemingly at the moment over the 3 rounds is that sort of everybody is like quick in certain places, so the grid sort of seems to even it out. There are still some people that have quite a bit of pace, but certainly qualifying doesn't seem to, unless you get like quite a few pro drivers in between you and the rest of the AM grid, I don't think qualifying is as important as it was, say, in a single class event. So, but I'll take a P5 to just sort of keep going. I don't think qualifying is my strong point, really, so I'll happily take a decent result there.
And just off of the back of that, a decent qualifying session, and then going into the race. Going into the race, of course, with your setup disadvantage, having a lot of speed on the straights, but perhaps no speed in the corners by comparison with some of your counterparts. Was there a particular way you perhaps set up your strategy in order to work around that? Because we saw you pit quite early.
Yeah, once I was able to sort of keep fairly okay pace with people throughout the first stint. It was more the fact that when I chose to pit because I saw quite a group of GTPs coming through, and I thought this would be a decent time to get in and try and lose as little time as possible. I mean, there's various ways to go about it with the strategy, but I thought I'll try that, and I seemed to jump quite a few people in the pits, so it seemed to work quite well for that one. I don't think it would work the same at every track, but I think just because at Spa, like, even though it's sort of a higher speed circuit in a lot of cases, you can lose a lot of time if the GTPs catch you in the wrong place and they have to sit in a traffic jam behind in the middle. So trying to work out minimum time loss was sort of what I was trying to do on the fly while struggling a little bit with the car.
Or indeed, quite a bit of a juggling act there, but I would say that your decision to pit early to avoid the GTP traffic was quite a smart one, because up to that point we saw you, as you mentioned earlier, not really a static race in terms of the battles from lap to lap. We saw you constantly in this back and forth exchange for places anywhere between P4 and P7, with rivals between you and each of those positions each and every time, and after that it looked as though you come out the pits and actually bought yourself some clear space on track.
Yeah, it worked out really well. I think I ended up about 6 seconds behind Mark after the pit stop sort of played out. So it seemed to be, I seemed to have put myself into a decent place. I knew that I was going to slowly drop back, but I've hoped that I had enough of a cushion to at least keep potentially a podium, especially with the speed that Steiner had. Like, and Nick, he really had a good race today. So, or well, last Sunday. But I had an unfortunate incident with one of the GTPs, and that spun me out and dropped me back down. So to come away with the P5, despite that, because I was really struggling after that. I think the tyres got overheated, and I just couldn't keep them cool again. So, but I'll take the P5 after all of that. It's certainly better than I've done in previous seasons for the first 3 rounds. So.
Well, indeed, and I think many would agree, because when we come to the standings shortly after your interview, we're going to be talking about the fact that you currently are championship leader going into the mid-season break after 3 rounds, only by 6 points over Lawrence Marsh, but 6 points or 1 point. It's a great place to be at the start of the season. I have to ask, how do you feel being championship leader? You've got 1 win to your name already, and also 3 top 5s to go with it. It's a perfect start, surely.
It's a good start. Drop scores, of course, are yet to be factored in, so I think some of the gaps that are present on the leaderboard probably aren't as vast as what it is. But there's been quite a number of people that have been in contention for decent results, and because of the nature of the racing, you can sort of. There's no need to be the fastest person out there. If you can get the strategy right, that almost is as quick as putting in hot laps each time. So it's going to be an interesting rest of the season to see how things shake out. I'm not getting ahead of myself because, as I didn't have any pace today, so I'm hoping that the next few rounds might be a bit more comfortable. But we'll see how things go after the break.
Oh, indeed. And of course, this being the final round before we do see the closing of the ability to change car within class. You've been running the Ferrari 296, the newest GT3 car on the grid. Looks as though you and the Ferrari are going quite well at the moment. Does that mean that we're guaranteed to see you in the Ferrari for the remainder of the season?
I think so, yeah. It's still sort of behaving very similarly to the old Ferrari. So it's given me a good sort of baseline to start with, and it has quite a few of the annoying tendencies of the previous one ironed out. So I'm going to stick with it for the rest of the season and see how we go from there.
And speaking of the rest of the season, or particularly the next round that's upcoming, after the mid-season break, we head to the mecca of road racing in the good old US of A, and that is none other than Watkins Glen International. How are you feeling for the high-speed circuit?
I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. It's probably one of my favourite circuits that we do. So I'm hoping to get a decent result there. It's going to be interesting with the pit entry and things and dealing with traffic around that circuit. But I think it's going to be a cracker of a race, and hopefully we can continue the form that I've been doing over the first 3 rounds.
Well, indeed, fingers crossed for yourself and the UK Sim Racing Hill team. That form continues to shine, because it's great to see you up there batting for the top of the GT3 AM class. But just before we do let you go, Matt, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
As always, all of the guys and admins at UKSR, they're putting a lot of work behind the scenes. All the stewards that do that as well. All the team guys, part of the teams in the league, all fun guys that we bounce ideas off week to week. And yourself, as always, for absolutely cracking broadcasts. It's you put on an absolute show every week for each one, so thank you very much.
Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. Congratulations once again on your 5th place finish today. Hard fought all the way, whilst the car was not set up right for the circuit. And tell you one thing, you set yourself up for success, and well, will we see that success continue at Watkins Glen in a week's time? We'll have to wait and see. But until then, have a fantastic mid-season break, and we'll see you on track for round number 4.
Cheers, Paul. Have a good evening.
So hearing it there from Matt Edmondson, always a joy to speak to the 176 driver in the GT3 AM class. And the UK Sim Racing Hill driver today really talking about the fact his race was anything but static, in terms of the fact he found himself in the majority of the race, particularly before the pit stop, which was early, battling back and forth, as we do have seen in the background a few exchanges between him and other drivers in the class. But talking about the fact as well, not quite able to find the right setup to go racing today, running a low downforce setup on a circuit, as we talked about in qualifying, really does push more towards a medium downforce setup. So you had all the speed on the straights, of which there are only 2 major straights to really talk about. But as soon as it came to the middle section of the circuit through the corners, that's where the car was losing out. But still, he worked around it. He realised that at the end of the day, okay, if I can't beat people on pace, I can beat them on avoiding the traffic. And that's exactly what he did with that early pit stop, the undercut pit stop, which enabled him to get back up into the podium spaces. But unfortunately, an instant which we didn't quite see, and you mentioned earlier there, ended up seeing him demoted from the podium places and battling for the bottom end of the top 5, but still dropping a P5 and hold on to the end. That's what championship campaigns are made of, when you aim to maximise your strengths, minimise your weaknesses. And I think right now, a deserved championship leader going into this mid-season break. And can Edmondson carry it on? Well, I think some might be saying already, perhaps he can. Well, that concludes our interviews then, ladies and gentlemen. We've only had the one today, and that was with Matt Edmondson from UK Sim Racing Hill. And, well, thank you to him for joining us. I do appreciate, once again, I think we all appreciate that it's always good to have 1 or 2 of our drivers join us, even when it is a post-round broadcast. But then again, not everyone necessarily available. And if any of our drivers are competed in the Petit Le Mans over the course of this weekend, good luck to them. And if they're just taking it nice and easy in preparation for going back to racing in a week's time, it's completely understandable, and we wish them all the best in their preparations for round number 4. But thank you to Matt for joining me in the interview room, and well done to him on his results. But now we come on to the updated standings then, ladies and gentlemen, and we did apologise last week for the fact we missed the standings and the fact we didn't quite catch them for round number 2, but let's bring you up to the full story then going into the mid-season break. But keep in mind, these standings are subject to stewards' inquiries, because the results from round number 3 are still provisional. So we start off with the GTP Pro class, and as we can see here, it is Cy Anthony who leads the way by 3 points over Austin William Campbell after 3 rounds of racing. It's very close between the 2 of them, but Cy Anthony's consistency and his growing form with that consistency is what puts him up front of the 2nd place today, absolutely delivering in that regard. But Austin William Campbell in return, the first time we've seen him finish much further down the order, a difficult race today, but if it weren't, for instance, and whatnot, he could technically be championship leader, and therefore that goes to show you that it's a bit of a pendulum effect between the 2 of them. But we would be wrong to exclude the thought of Alex Hill, who in P3 on 94 points. He's 6 off of the top 2, and also in the hunt, with Ben Cullen a further 2 points behind, and Paul Busby, the man who on form today took the perfect score of 42, and right now you could imagine the 420 drive for effect simulations will be absolutely galvanised from this performance at Spa, and looking to repeat it at Watkins Watkins Glen. And if he does so, he'll be leaping his way up to the top of the standings very rapidly indeed. But Ryan Davies in at P6, that further point behind for Tiki Simsport ahead of Symphony Esports Jonathan Hitchin, who having lost out in the opening couple of rounds, the opening 2 rounds with only 27 points accrued, now finding his form with that podium finish today, and he's building momentum and one to watch out for. We is ahead of Joshua G. Wilson by a single point, within Alexander Truman McAlson and Joe Newman completing your top 10. Matt Strand, P11 for Racing Lab Esports Car X, a first 16 points behind. It's been a difficult start to the season for Strand, and the same for Alistair Kirkdale, or Ali Kirk as he's known in short, with only 24 points to the board after a penalty picked up from round number 2, and therefore they've both got quite a bit of work to do, but that's how the GTP Pro Class stands. We then come to the GTP AM Class, and here we can see the complexion at the top is quite similar. We do have a leader who seems to be breaking away, however, in the fact that Sam Sherwood, whilst he's only 6 points ahead, that belies the fact his pace over the last 2 rounds has absolutely been on the highest form possible. So Billy Bob Ray in P2 for Empire Motorsport, we're looking up to the ProTech Motorsport driver and seeing if he can close the gap over the course of the next couple of rounds to keep this championship well and truly alive, as today it was a difficult day for Billy Bob Ray after that contact on lap number 2. But meanwhile, he's still ahead of Rob Armstrong by 6 points, with Rob Armstrong being made and to hold on to that third place stay on 92 points. And then we do have a 15-point gap that's emerged to Brandon Hay in P4, but keep in mind he did miss round number 2, and therefore the Newbridge Esports driver currently out of position in terms of points. Like Edmondson was saying earlier, we still need to factor in drop scores as the season goes on. Dave Ruddleston at P5 there for Tiger Racing Team on 70 points. A good start to his season, albeit a difficult day today for the Tiger Racing Team driver, no points gained. And then it's David Lowerson for Symphony Esports in at P6 on 66 points. 2 clear of John Doble, with the Tiki Simsport corporate driver being followed up by the Racing Lab Esports pair of the sister teams of KTM and Moser of Rudy Witzland and Auden Hegerseter. And then P10 Aaron at Beaver for UK Sim Racing Bell with another battling performance today. Darren Norquette, best of SP11 for Racing Forces, ahead of Richard Jones, with Salvatore Goriento making his debut today and picking up 24 points. And then on 0 points, yet to score, Paul Joseph Clist and James Foster complete your standings. We then come on to the GT3 Pro Class, and here we can see in the Pro Class what it's all to play for when it's not towards the very top, because currently Herodas Jotatis has taken the lead, and by a sizable advantage of 24 points over his rivals over Limit Racing. However, again, we should point out there's a number of drivers here who have got a 0 score already, and that will become their drop score, and therefore things will get closer as the season goes on. But right now, Jotatis definitely leading the way up front. Joshua Pratt, meanwhile, P2 for Tiki Simsport. His consistency definitely proving critical in the fact in all 3 races had mixed form with regards to some races not quite going his way, but still key points coming on in and making sure to reach that checkered flag, and that puts him 3 points ahead of Anders Meyer in P3. Well, the Racing Lab Esports Moser driver missing out round number 2, but back on fine form today. And in fact, we said earlier that Sam Sherwood was the first driver of this season to make himself a repeat winner. We could also say that Anders Meyer is a repeat winner, as he did win round number 1 in the GTV Pro Class, and also the same in round number 3, albeit not consecutive repeat winner if you want to differentiate it. But still, double winner Anders Meyer, only 3 points behind, and with a 0 score already, it means he's a lot closer to the top and than it may seem at this time, and we'll see that factored in later on. Adrian Kukulas, P4 for Short Competition Esports. He's 4 points clear of his teammate Aaron Vergawa. Vergawa's unfortunate disconnect today cost him huge points, which would have put him inside the top 3. And then Reece Saunders ahead of Marvin Cruz with what is their Heckel Gestad, Ryan Moles and Eric Rosev complete your top 10. And with the KTM Racing Lab Esports driver today in P10 of Rosev, definitely having a difficult day when it looked to be a certain win, and then a major incident cost him dear, and he'll be ruining the fact that right now it's a lot of points dropped early on in the season. Peter Cox, P11 for UK Sim Racing Hill, a further 2 points behind, head of Chris Constable, only on result countback. With the UK Sim Racing Mansell driver, 2 points clear of his teammate Darren Sharples, and then Kerry Corcoran and Chris Kirtland complete your top 15. With Thomas Aspel, Casper Brottler, Daniel Pays, Martin Tennant and John Watt completed the top 20. And then last but not least in P21, it's John Maloney for Moglia Racing who completes the standings. But then we lastly come to what is the GT3 AM class. And here we can see in the AM class, as we mentioned in the interview with him, it's Matt Edmondson who leads the way on 106 points to the 100 of Lawrence Marsh. Marsh continues to stay close to Edmondson, and the battle of the UK Sim Racing Hill and Downforce Racing Drives rages on. But keep in mind, 9 points behind is Mark Johnson for UK Sim Racing Mansell, who is really starting to come to grips with the Porsche 992 and bringing himself into that title fight. And it's John Davis ahead of Thomas Barjuk, who complete the the top 5, and we can see there in P6 Simon Hartley, or Cy Hartley as he's known in short for Tiki Sport Toa. Well, he's on 74 points ahead of teammate Satinder Deensa, albeit Deensa is the one to watch out for in the fact he has a 0 score as he didn't attend in the Spa-Francorchamps round, and therefore right now he already has a drop score locked in, and you'd have to imagine that later in the season, well, the points he's gained in rounds 1 and 2 will come to help him move back up the order. Mark Collicott, a further point behind there with the win today. A great performance from the AR Race Series DCW racing driver, and with the fact he picked up a 0 score at Indianapolis, he's in a similar situation to Deensa, with Nicholas Rice and Steinar Sani completing your top 10. And what a contrasted performance today for Nicholas Rice, the fact the first 2 rounds of the season not working out, and now today picking up that second place. He's up to 68 points. He's at the bottom of the top 10, but I think he's going to make his way into the top 5 soon. Watch out for Rice. That's what I'm saying with regards to the odds today. And as we can see in P11, Jim Connolly there, best the rest behind Steinar Sani, the UK Sim Racing Hill driver. Well, he continues to try and push on, head of Shaminda Deensa, and then Andy Skinner, Oyvind Breivik, and Neil Smith complete your top 15, with Noel Killen and BJ Alvarez yet to compete in a round, and therefore on 0 points. But then coming on to the team standings, last but not least in terms of all the championship considerations, let's take you through the top 20 of the team standings after 3 rounds of racing. And it is currently Effect Simulations who lead the way on 194 points, 8 points clear of Tiki Sport Corpa, albeit the number of penalties that Effect Simulations have picked up thus far, you can see those negative red scores there, definitely holding them back from the advantages they could have carved out, but still they have taken the lead and they are trying to break away now after the brilliant performance of their lead driver Busby today. There's no question about it. Tiki Sport Corpa continue to stay close, with consistency proving key for their drivers ahead of Symphony Esports by an advantage of 10 points, and it's a further 2 to both UK Sim Racing Hill and Tiki Sim Sport, with the UK Sim Racing team ahead based on result countback. Racing Lab Esports Moser are P6, only a further 3 points behind, ahead of UK Sim Racing Mansell, with Empire Motorsport there P8 and dropping outside of the top 5 today due to a difficult set of performances in their team as of this round. Both Billy Bob Ray and Joe Newman having difficulty, so they'll need to bounce back as of round number 4. And then Protect Motorsport and Downforce Racing complete your top 10. P11 is Tiki Sport Tour, 15 points behind the top 10, but 2 points clear of UK Sim Racing Bell, with Short Competition Esports only behind Bell based on result countback. Next, Race Lab Esports KTM and Race Lab Esports Car X who complete your top 15. But don't be fooled here, the Racing Lab Esports teams, keep in mind a number of their drivers have missed round number 2 due to competing in the Norwegian National Finals, so therefore we can expect the Racing Lab Esports teams to all leapfrog their way back up the standings as the season goes on, should results go their way. Over Limit Racing at P16 there, with the sole driver of Jotasa doing a fantastic job to keep the team inside the top 20. And then we can see it to round off the top 20. It is in P17, Old Dudes in Cars, only behind Over Limit Racing based on result countback, ahead of the Wrong Stuff in P18 on 86 points. Then AR Race Series DCW Racing and Team Year 1 completing the top 20 of the standings. And well, for reference in P21, it is Tiger Racing Team that only 1 point currently off of being inside the top 20. And will we see them back there come the end of the next round? We'll have to wait and see. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid for a future season of racing at a UK Sim Racing, or perhaps you just want to know a little bit more about the community, and indeed whilst we are a UK based community, we do open up our doors to everybody of all nationalities and all talents around the world. Well, the best way to find out more about us is firstly going to our official website, that's uksimracing.co.uk, and you saw that earlier on today in the broadcast. But if you don't want to go to our website necessarily, we can also recommend that you follow us on social media, and the best place to do so would be via our official Twitter, and that is at twitter.com/UK Sim Racing _, where you can find out all about our ongoing and upcoming series, and also find about the trials and tribulations of the official UK Sim Racing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, who do include Swilly Almeida Sim Racing Coaching, and the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist, Swilly Almeida Sim Racing Coaching, can help take your sim racing drive to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilly Almeida has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilly being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 at PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching for the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level or discipline, Demon Tweaks could help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high-quality sim racing racing-related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include but not limited to one-click shopping, Amazon Fire TV and Amazon Alexa, and lastly, but not least, SRC Driver Academy, a division of Sim Racing Community. Elevate your sim racing skills with SRC Driver Academy. Their team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromising on quality. But why choose SRC? To put it simply, affordable quality coaching. They have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. You can learn race strategies, position driving and much more, and they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Visit their website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. With that, ladies and gentlemen, attention now turns to the mid-season break, and after it, of course, round number 4, and I'm very pleased to say that when our drives make the way onto the tarmac at Watkins Glen International, we'll be bringing you all of the racing action live from circuit side of the United States. And save the date right now, it'll be Sunday the 15th of October. Be there to witness the continuation of the championship, which currently is wide open across all 4 classes, and anything can happen. If the first 3 rounds have taught us anything, it is that nothing is certain in the UK Sim Racing at GT3-GTP Multiclass League, and you've got to be there to see it all play out. But until then, we have been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as well as having a great weekend ahead, remember to stay on track. Good night.